9 p.m. Maiduguri time. Should we start? Enio Buru, are you there? So, for today, we'll be reading the concluding part of the inquest. That is what happened on the 11th day of July 2025. Inshallah, by tomorrow, we hope to get the older ones that we didn't have before. The likes of Darusha, Prime Boy, Spending, the nurse, the lawyer. I said the nurse, the nurse, the lawyer, the pathologist. We're going to get their CTCs, but tonight we're going to treat the last inquest. That is the verdict, the summary of everything that happened, and we have the magistrates talking about it. So, guys, let's keep on tapping. Those that want to record, please, you are free to do so, and those you can call all those your bloggers that want to take this into their own records also. So let's get going. Yes, I'm fired up. I'm fired up. I'm fired up. Okay, grab your popcorn. We're back to start. In the Coroner's Court of Lagos State in the Ikorodu Coronial District, holding at Court Number 3 Ikorodu today, Friday, the 11th day of July 2025. Before His Honor Shotobi Taufikat Adidayo, Coroner, inquest number CRIKD 10-2023, in the matter of an inquest into the death of Ileri Oluwaola Dimeji Promise Aloba, aka Mohbad. Brief background facts. Pursuant to a letter dated 18th of September 2023 and 27th of September 2023, written by the Office of the Commissioner of Police, Falana and Falana Chambers, Festus Ogun Legal, and Chief Yomi Aliyu San and Co., the Chief Coroner of Lagos State, Honorable Justice M.A. Dada, requesting for exhumation and an inquest. The letters order that this coroner's inquest be convoked primarily to unravel the circumstances surrounding the death of Mr. Ileri Oluwa Oladimeji Promise Aloba, herein refers to as the deceased. The deceased fans all over the world believed he died in a questionable and suspicious circumstances, and that the cause of death be investigated and thus pursuant to the provisions of sections 14 and 15 of the Coroner's System Law of Lagos State, Cap C15, Laws of Lagos State 2015. His death became a subject of investigation, particularly to unravel what occasioned his seemingly untimely death. The deceased, a male of 26 years, was confirmed dead on arrival on Tuesday, the 12th day of September 2023, as the Kuramed Hospital, Lekki Phase 1, within the Lagos Coronal District. The deceased was allegedly taken to the hospital after one nurse alleged to have given the deceased injection, which led to a reaction that necessitated that the deceased be taken to the hospital. About an inquest. An inquest is a fact-finding exercise into the circumstances surrounding a death. It is not technical. The purpose of an inquest is to find out who the deceased person was, when and where the person died, how the deceased person died, and to provide solutions to forestall such a reoccurrence, if any. The inquest began sitting on the 29th of September 2023 with a preliminary meeting between the coroner and all relevant or interested persons and state agencies whose testimonies were considered relevant or necessary to aid the fact-finding exercise. During the course of the inquest, a total number of 19 witnesses gave their testimonies, which included family members of the deceased, the accused nurse, the deceased friends, doctor, driver, and all persons around the deceased at the time of death. The forensic examiner, police officer, 2 pathologists, and a toxicologist. Parties filed their respective depositions. Exhibits were tendered before the court. All interested parties were represented by counsel, and they were examined in chief, cross-examined, and occasionally re-examined. The deceased body was exhumed upon the receipt of the letter dated the 18th of September 2023 by the chief coroner and signed by the district coroner of where the death occurred. And after assuming jurisdiction, The coroner ordered the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner to perform a detailed postmortem examination on the deceased body and to make a report in line with Section 26 of the Coroner System Law. Supra. The postmortem examination was conducted by IW9, who then gave his oral evidence, 1W9, sorry, who then gave his oral evidence before the court on the 15th day of May 2024. And he was cross-examined on the 30th day of September 2024. And he made available his medical reports, which was admitted and marked as Exhibit IW901 on the 15th day of May 2024. On the 29th of September 2023, shortly after the coroner assumed jurisdiction, the law enforcement agencies were summoned by the court to give detailed reports in regards to their investigating report concerning the death of the late singer and artist Aloba Oladimeji Ilerioluwa Promise, aka Mohbad. The law enforcement agencies, ASP Mohammed Yusuf and ASP Gafar Oderinde, reported on the 13th day of October 2024 before the court. Both witnesses were not under oath. I will now go ahead to lay bare the testimony and evidence of each of the witnesses as presented by the respective parties, including those summoned by me and requested by the parties before the court. Hearing began with the first inquest witness, first W1W1, on the 25th of October 2025, who incidentally was the father of the deceased. One Mr. Joseph Oluwabamiwo Aloba, 1W1. Mr. Joseph Aloba, father of the deceased, took the stand as the first principal family witness. He gave his testimony in Yoruba and was led by his counsel, Mr. Olumiyewa Ogunsomi, after he adopted his written deposition on oath, filed on the 25th day of October 2023. Mr. Joseph Aloba is herein referred as 1W1. IW1. IW1 identified himself as a carpenter residing in Ikorodu, Lagos, and the biological father of Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad. He confirmed adopting his written deposition as his evidence and expressed his desire for justice concerning the circumstances surrounding his son's death. IW1 described a lengthy paternal relationship with the deceased, stating that the deceased lived with him for the first 18 years of his life. During this period, IW1 moved residences frequently, which prompted multiple school changes for his son. This included Upper Hand Nursery and Primary School in Agboru and two secondary schools, Uncle Shodis and Topval. Mohbad eventually obtained an OND from Esaoke Polytechnic. He maintained that the deceased had no prior history of serious illness apart from a bout of rashes that was treated with over-the-counter medication. IW1 emphasized that there was no long-standing health condition, particularly no records of asthma, ulcers, or allergies. Under cross-examination by the State Counsel, Mr. A.A. George, the witness was pressed on several inconsistencies in his understanding of his son's life post-2019. IW1 admitted that from the time Mohbad moved out to live with Naira Marley, he had little to no contact with him for nearly a year. IW1 was admitted not knowing the address of the house where his son was living during his time, despite being informed of events like the NDLEA raid on Naira Marley's residence in 2022. When the IW1 was asked about the incident involving his son's arrest and alleged forceful administration of a drink while in NDLEA custody, Mr. Aloba stated that he did not visit his son during the detention, but was informed by Mohbad afterward that he had been given a strange liquid. He added that this event deeply affected his son emotionally, prompting fear and a temporary withdrawal from public appearances. The IW1 further pressed on his son's relationships. IW1 confirmed hearing frequent complaints from the deceased regarding tension with his record label and manager, Tunde, Naira Marley's younger brother. IW1 narrated how Mohbad expressed his intent to leave Malian music and had gone to inform Naira Marley of his decision, after which an assault allegedly occurred. Mr. Aloba did not witness the beating directly but saw visible marks on his son's body after the incident. IW1 admitted that he neither followed his son to the police station nor inquired deeply into the reported physical assault. Although the deceased Mohbad had informed him of legal steps being taken, Mr. Aloba did not verify or engage with these processes directly. IW1 recounted being informed by Mohbad's mother that their son had been taken to the hospital. However, upon arriving at the house around 9:30 p.m., he found Mohbad's body laid out in the living room. He noticed cotton wool stuffed into his nose and ears but did not see visible injuries or blood on the body itself. Once again, he noticed cotton wool stuffed into his nose and ears but did not see visible injuries or blood on the body itself. Nevertheless, he found a blood-soaked cloth in the lobby near the stairs, which led him to suspect something untoward. IW1 revealed that no death certificate or medical report was obtained from before deciding on burial. IW1 testified that hospital reportedly refused to accept the corpse due to a lack of documentation, prompting him to opt for immediate burial. That the deceased body was taken to Ikorodu. IW1 Mr. Aloba stated that his son owned the land on which he was buried and that the decision to bury him there was largely his own, with little consultation with other family members. In response to the multiple questions being asked under cross-examination, IW1 admitted that he did not see the nurse who gave the injection. He did not inquire who confirmed his son dead. He was unaware of who handled or prepared the body. He did not see any police report or obtain a coroner's authorization. IW1, under cross-examination by counsels on record, indirectly accused Naira Marley and Sam Larry of contributing to his son's death, citing long-standing harassment, psychological distress, and physical assault. He added that his son's wife often left the house for days without explanation and had been a source of emotional turmoil for Mohbad. IW1 further described how the deceased had become increasingly fearful in the weeks preceding his death, including a reported breakdown following the Ikorodu show altercation. IW1 affirmed that he did not witness the final injection or medical episode. He was told by the deceased wife that a nurse administered injections that resulted in vomiting, convulsions, and ultimate death of his son. Guys, please let's keep on tapping. Testimony of Ajishebiri Sultan Ayobami, aka Bami, IW2. Ajishebiri Sultan Ayobami, a 23-year-old DJ known as Bami, took the witness stand after being sworn on oath with the Holy Bible. He thereafter adopted his son, his written statement on oath, dated 25 of October 2025, and recounted his this should be 2023, and recounted his experiences and observations concerning the late artist, Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad. IW2 was fondly called Bami, testified that he had known the deceased since 2018, officially began working with him as a DJ in November 2022. He lived with Mohbad and others in Royal Pine Estate, Orchard Road, Lekki. IW2 explained that although they had first met in 2018 and went to a show together in 2019, they maintained communication online until Mohbad formally invited him in 2022 to work as his DJ. From that point forward, he accompanied Mohbad to shows and lived in the same residence alongside his wife, child, brother, Adura in brackets, and others. While giving his testimony, IW2 recounted two specific incidents of violence and bullying that involved Mohbad and himself, which he directly witnessed and experienced. IW2 testified that the first incident took place at Chandelier Club in Victoria Island in June 2023. On that occasion, he, Mohbad, and a friend named Diarra entered the club and sat near a group that included Naira Marley and Sam Larry. Moments later, Sam Larry and his associates left the club. Soon after, Diarra went missing, prompting concern. Someone sent by Mohbad discovered Diarra outside being beaten by Sam Larry. When they went out to intervene, Sam Larry attempted to hit Mohbad. In the commotion, Bami was targeted and beaten severely by Sam Larry and his associates. He further testified that the deceased was eventually rescued by a bouncer who took him to safety in a nearby compound. That the second incident occurred 4 days later at Elegushi Beach during a video shoot with artist Zlatan. Initially, a group of area boys came to extort them, and after some money was paid, the situation seemed under control. However, Sam Larry returned with more men in a bus and disrupted the shoot. Fearing further assault, IW2 hid in a car, from where he watched Sam Larry and his group beat Mohbad. IW2 testified that Zlatan reportedly intervened by placing Mohbad in his car and locking the doors. Sam Larry allegedly issued threats vowing not to let them leave and to kill them one by one. Eventually, Zlatan pleaded with the attackers and they were allowed to leave. That following this event, IW2, Mohbad and Derosha went to a police station on Lagos Island to report the assaults. He could not remember the exact name of the station. That later, and being accompanied by Adura, Mohbad's brother, they escorted police officers to Sam Larry's residence, but Sam Larry was not found there. IW2 described the sequence that led to Mohbad's injury and subsequent death. On that Sunday, they traveled to a show in Ikorodu in two Prado vehicles. IW2 was in one, while Mohbad, his wife, Framboy, and others were in the other. After the performance, while trying to leave amidst blocked traffic, IW2 observed that Mohbad came out of the car, visibly upset, and walked towards the other vehicle, and the deceased attempted to confront Prime Boy, his friend. IW2 saw him hit the side of the Prado Jeep, breaking the window glass. Mohbad sustained a cut on his hand from this incident. The deceased was eventually pulled away from the altercation and returned to the car. Prime Boy was reportedly asked to leave the scene and did not return to the house with them. That night, they returned home to Orchid Estate. DJ Bami noted that Mohbad did not receive immediate medical attention but went to bed. IW2 later went out to buy spirit and Panadol to clean the wound. But by the time he returned, Mohbad was already asleep. He cleaned the wound the next morning. On Monday, IW2 and Spending tried to reach a nurse. They were unable to find one that day, but Spending offered the contact of a nurse who could come on Tuesday. IW2 further testified that he made a video of Mohbad's wound and sent it to the nurse. She arrived the next morning, Tuesday, and IW2 went upstairs to wake Mohbad, who was reportedly sleeping peacefully. IW2 stated that the deceased appeared to be in a normal state and not feverish or complaining of any other symptoms besides the wound. The IW2 stated that the nurse administered injections including tetanus, paracetamol, and another drug. She initially considered using diclofenac, but Bami stopped her, citing Mohbad's history of ulcer. Shortly after the injection, Mohbad began vomiting, specifically noodles, which he had earlier eaten. IW2 and the nurse noticed goosebumps on his skin. The nurse suggested administering a drip and left with IW2 to purchase it at a pharmacy. While out, IW2 called someone at the house to get updates. He was informed that Mohbad had started convulsing. He rushed back and found the deceased being carried outside by others, including OG, the photographer, West, and some neighbors. Bami helped lift Mohbad into a neighbor's car, owned by a man called Abaga, and they rushed him to Pyramid Hospital. Upon arrival, IW2 tried to clear traffic on the road and then ran ahead to the hospital to ask for an ambulance, which was unavailable. Meanwhile, others brought Mohbad to the hospital on a motorcycle. Doctors examined him and after about 15 minutes declared that he was brought in dead. That after this declaration, IW2 called Darusha, who insisted Mohbad was not dead. The cotton wool placed in Mohbad's nose by hospital staff was removed, and they took him to a second hospital, Perez Hospital in Osapa. Bami traveled in a separate vehicle and arrived later. He was informed that the second hospital did not admit him, but only examined and confirmed him dead on arrival. IW2 further clarified that he had not seen any signs of Mohbad using hard drugs. According to him, the deceased only smoked cigarettes and occasionally drank alcohol like whiskey, but does not use narcotics. He also affirmed that Mohbad had ulcer and was on medication for it. The injection administered by the nurse was given after he had eaten. IW2 explained that the CCTV in their residence was non-functional. However, the neighbor's CCTV was reportedly working. He couldn't confirm whether it captured anything. When asked if he had any bitterness towards Sam Larry or Naira Marley, IW2 stated that he bore no grudge against Naira Marley, but admitted he was still upset with Sam Larry for the physical assault he had suffered. He emphasized that his testimony was truthful and not influenced by resentment. IW2 described how the deceased wore white top and black trousers to the event, but had removed his top by the time they got home. That the top was blood-stained and was washed the next day by West. Once again, IW2 described how the deceased wore white top and black trousers to the event, but had removed his top by the time they got home. That the top was blood-stained and was washed the next day by West. That night, Mohbad reportedly slept in his wife's room. On Monday, he stayed indoors and later mentioned that his hand still hurt. DJ Bami further confirmed that Mohbad's wife was present at all key moments during the show, the altercation with Prime Boy, the administration of injections, the vomiting episode, and during the transport to both hospitals. IW2 ended his testimony by asserting that Mohbad was in good health before the injection was administered, and that he only had a minor hand wound that appeared to be healing until his sudden deterioration. Testimony of Mrs. Abosede Aloba, mother of the deceased, IW3. Please, let's keep on tapping. Let me take some water. Testimony of Mrs. Abosede Aloba, mother of the deceased, IW3. IW3 was sworn on oath by the Holy Bible, adopted her written statements dated the 25th of October 2023 as her evidence to be relied on. She testified and confirmed that she is the biological mother of the deceased and that she had 5 children with IW1, Mr. Joseph Aloba, Mohbad's father. W3 described her son as humble and respectful and explained that she and Mohbad had maintained a close relationship. She regularly visited him and was present in his home on numerous occasions before his death. She also revealed that her late son had promised to take care of her and had begun to fulfill that promise before his untimely demise. IW3 testified that although she and her husband were separated, her children had always maintained a strong bond with her. She further stated that Mohbad had rented a house for her at Ikorodu and made sure she was comfortable, especially after his music career took off. She spoke warmly of her son's generosity and his desire to ensure that she was well cared for. IW3 explained that she frequently visited her son's residence at Royal Pine Estate and was familiar with the people living there, including Mohbad's wife, Wumi, his personal assistant, Spending, his younger brother, Adura, and his photographer, Oji. She stated that she never felt threatened or uncomfortable in the house and that her son always welcomed her warmly. In her testimony, IW3 recalled that sometime before her husband's death, Mohbad told her that he was being threatened and harassed. He confided in her that Sam Larry had attacked him in the past and that he had been facing repeated issues with people from his former record label. IW3 further said her son looked genuinely worried and lived in constant fear. IW3 had reportedly asked his father and others around him to help ensure his safety. Mrs. Aloba stated that her son often changed houses and locations as he felt unsafe staying too long in one place. IW3 recounted one incident where Mohbad came to visit her and shared voice notes and videos showing how he was being bullied. He allegedly showed her an injury and expressed fears that he might be fired. Mention, Mentioned that Mohbad also reported instances of people trying to attack him at shows, including an occasion where he had to escape from an event in Ibadan. IW3 further emphasized that her son was in a state of distress during this period, frequently expressing concern over his safety. According to IW3, she was not physically present at the house when Mohbad died. IW3 further testified that she was informed by phone that something was wrong with her son and rushed to Lagos in a state of confusion and fear. IW3 stated that when she eventually arrived, she was told that her son was spied. She was devastated by the news. Please, when I say spy, it means DEA. IW3 narrated that her son's spy was sudden and deeply suspicious to her. She found it hard to accept that someone as strong and lively as Mohbad could have spied so abruptly from what was initially described as a hand injury. IW3 expressed concern over how the situation was handled by those around him and how quickly he was declared spied and taken for burial. IW3 recounted that she never saw her son sick or bedridden before his death. IW3 confirmed that he was healthy and had no known life-threatening illness apart from the occasional ulcer. IW3 emphasized that Mohbad was strong and energetic and his death was unnatural in her view. Let me pause here. Enioburu, are you there? Enioburu, are you there? Guys, please, let's keep on tapping. Let's keep on tapping our screen. Please give me just 2 minutes, please. Enioburu, can you still hear me? IW3 also stated that she had not been told the exact cause of spy. IW3 stated that she did not see any medical report confirming how he died and was not allowed to see her son's body for long.
Mr. Dawa, echo. Can you
Now,
adjust?
also stated that she had not been told the exact cause of death. IW3 stated that she did not see any medical reports confirming how he died and was not allowed to see her son's body for long. IW3 had questions about the events that took place the day he died, including the role of the nurse and those present in the house. IW3, in her emotional account, lamented that her son had cried out for help multiple times, yet those cries were ignored. She called for justice and for the truth to come out regarding what truly happened to her son. IW3 expressed distrust in some of the people who had surrounded Mohbad during his cry, stating that she believed foul play may have occurred. IW3 concluded her testimony with a plea to the authorities and to the public to ensure that justice is served and that those responsible for her son's suffering and death are held accountable. IW3 maintained that Mohbad had not lived in peace and should not be allowed to die in vain. Testimony of Cynthia Omomi Aloba, deceased wife, IW4. Cynthia Omomi Aloba, the wife of the late singer Mohbad, appeared before the coroner's court to give her personal account of the events leading up to her husband's sudden and tragic death. IW4, please guys, please let's tap. There are some words here before I read them. I might not notice, and they are not TikTok agreeable. So please let's keep on tapping, please. IW4 introduced herself as the lawful wife of the deceased and the mother of his only child, Liam. IW4 confirmed that she and Mohbad had lived together as husband and wife up until the day of his cry, and that they resided at Royal Pine Estate, Lekki, Lagos. Her written deposition dated the 25th of October 2023 was adopted as her evidence in chief. IW4 began her testimony by describing her relationship with Mohbad as a deeply affectionate and committed one. They had been together since 2019 and she had been a part of his journey both personally and professionally. According to her, Mohbad was a devoted husband and father who took his responsibilities seriously. IW4 explained that the late singer had been living under constant fear and distress due to bullying and threats from individuals associated with his former record label. She specifically mentioned that Naira Marley and Sam Larry had been at the center of these threats. According to IW4, her husband was never at peace after he left Malian music. He was constantly harassed, intimidated, and made to feel unsafe. IW4 recounted several occasions where her husband had been physically attacked or threatened at shows, events, or even at home. IW4 narrated one instance at Elegushi Beach during a video shoot with Zlatan, where Sam Larry and his boys stormed the location and physically assaulted Mohbad. IW4 recalled how Zlatan had to protect her husband by locking him in a car to prevent the attackers from reaching him. IW4 further stated that Mohbad was left psychologically traumatized after that incident and it worsened his state of mind and sense of security. IW4 also testified that on the 10th day of September 2023, when Mohbad had a performance in Ikorodu, according to her, they left for the show in a Prado SUV with other members of the team. After the performance, while they were preparing to leave, an altercation occurred between Mohbad and his childhood friend Prime Boy. Mohbad had accused Prime Boy of being disrespectful and showing disloyalty in public. During the argument, Mohbad hit the glass of the vehicle and injured his hand. IW4 recounted that after returning home that night, Mohbad refused to go to the hospital. Instead, he used first aid items to clean the wound and went to bed. IW4 stated that Mohbad had been recounted that after returning home that night, Mohbad refused to go to the hospital. Instead, she used first aid items to clean the wound and went to bed. IW4 further stated that on the next day, Monday, he complained about pain in his hand. IW4 said they decided to call a nurse to come and administer treatment. The nurse could not come that day but agreed to come the next morning. IW4 stated that on Tuesday, 12 September 2023, the nurse arrived and gave Mohbad injections. IW4 stated that shortly after the injections were administered, her husband started vomiting. He had eaten noodles before the nurse arrived. Wumi became more worried and started assisting the nurse in trying to stabilize him. IW4 affirmed that she noticed goosebumps on his skin and felt something was wrong. IW4 recalled that the nurse asked that a drip be purchased and left with Bami, Mohbad's DJ, to get it. While they were away, Mohbad's condition worsened. He started convulsing. That the IW4 raised an alarm and other occupants in the house rushed in. Together, they lifted Mohbad and carried him outside to a neighbor's car and rushed him to Coroners Hospital. Please let me pause there. Give me 1 minute. Okay, I'm back. IW4 testified that at Coroners Hospital, doctors attended to him but later informed her that he was already dead when he was brought in. Distraught and disbelieving, she insisted he could not be dead and requested that he be moved to another hospital. He was then taken to Perez Hospital, where medical staff confirmed again that he had died before arrival and refused to admit him. IW4 stated that the death of her husband happened too quickly and she had not recovered from the trauma. She emphasized that her husband was not sick before the injection, only that he had sustained a wound in his hand from hitting the vehicle window. IW4 denied that he was into hard drugs, although she admitted he occasionally smoked and drank alcohol. IW4 stated that Mohbad was not under the influence of anything harmful on the day he died. IW4 concluded her testimony by expressing her belief that her husband's death was not natural. IW4 further insisted that the people who have threatened and assaulted him should be thoroughly investigated. IW4 called on the authorities to bring justice and ensure that the truth about what happened to her husband is revealed. IW4 final words were filled with sorrow as she asked the court and the public not to let her husband's death be swept under the rug. Testimony of Aloba Aduragbemi Emmanuel, IW5. Gbemi Emmanuel, the younger brother of the deceased singer Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Aloba, known as Mohbad, appeared before the coroner's court to recount his relationship with his late brother, their living arrangements, and the circumstances surrounding his death. He introduced himself as a 19-year-old secondary school graduate who had lived with Mohbad in their residence at Royal Pioneer Estate, Lekki, for several months before the incident. IW5 explained that he had always shared a close bond with his elder brother, and that Mohbad had assumed responsibility for his welfare, including education and general upkeep. That after finishing school, he moved in with Mohbad, where he helped with errands and other household activities. IW5 recounted that their household at the time of Mohbad's death comprised several individuals, including the deceased, Mohbad's wife Wumi, their child Liam, the DJ Bami, the personal assistant Spending, the photographer OG, and himself. IW5, his testimony, explained that on Sunday, 10 September 2023, they traveled to a show in Ikorodu using two vehicles, and IW5 was in one of the vehicles, while Mohbad, Prime Boy, Wumi, and others were in the other. After the show, during their attempt to leave, Mohbad alighted and confronted Prime Boy. IW5 further testified that the deceased accused Prime Boy of being disrespectful and not supporting him in the presence of outsiders. During the heated exchange, Mohbad hit the vehicle and broke a glass window, injuring his hand in the process. IW5 confirmed that Mohbad bled from the wound but refused to go to the hospital that night. Instead, they returned home. On Monday, the wound was cleaned and attempts were made to get a nurse. The nurse eventually arrived on Tuesday, 12 September, to administer treatment. The IW5 testified that the nurse gave Mohbad injections, including a tetanus shot and others. Shortly after the injections, Mohbad began vomiting. IW5 testified that the deceased had eaten noodles that morning before the nurse arrived. According to IW5, the nurse requested a drip and left the house with Bami to get it from a nearby pharmacy while they were away. IW5 testified that during their absence, Mohbad's condition worsened. IW5 stated that the deceased began to convulse and foam from the mouth. Wumi raised the alarm and everyone present came out to help. IW5 testified that he carried Mohbad outside and rushed him to Kuramed Hospital using a neighbor's car. IW5 stated that when they got to the hospital, the doctors examined him and declared that he was brought in dead. IW5 stated that despite the hospital's confirmation, his brother's associate, Darusha, did not accept the diagnosis and instructed that Mohbad be moved to Perez Hospital. At the second hospital, the medical staff also confirmed that he was already dead upon arrival. He stated that before this incident, Mohbad had not shown any signs of illness except for the injuries sustained on his hand. He emphasized that Mohbad was healthy, mentally sound, and in a good state before receiving the injections. He also said that his brother had previously experienced constant bullying and harassment, particularly from people associated with Malian music and Sam Larry. Adiragbemi recalled that Mohbad lived in fear due to these experiences. He said there were occasions when strangers came to their estate looking for him, and incidents where Mohbad had to hide or flee due to threats. He said that these experiences had taken a toll on his brother's emotional and psychological well-being. He also narrated that Mohbad was a peaceful and humble person who did not have issues with people unnecessarily. He was generous to his family and was the one who took care of them financially. IWF ended his testimony by expressing shock and sadness over his brother's sudden and tragic death. He said he never expected to lose him that way and hoped that justice would prevail in uncovering the truth behind what led to his death. Testimony Testimony of Dr. Richard Somiari, IW6. Dr. Richard Somiari, an expert forensic toxicologist and the director of the Lagos State DNA and Forensic Center, appeared before the coroner's court in connection with the investigation into the death of the late artist Ileri Oluwa Oladimeji Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad. He presented himself as a scientist with extensive professional experience, particularly in the area of forensic toxicology, and affirmed that his center had been tasked with conducting analysis relating to Mohbad's death. During his testimony, Dr. Somiari explained the role and scope of Lagos State DNA and Forensic Center. IW6 stated that it is a government-run facility specializing in DNA analysis, forensic biology, and toxicology, and that the center was responsible for examining the body and conducting specific scientific tests as part of the ongoing death investigation. IW6 noted that he was personally involved in supervising and reviewing the procedures in relation to Mohbad's case. Dr. Somiari confirmed that the autopsy of Mohbad was carried out at the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital last week, and that the DNA and Forensic Center were directed to conduct the toxicological analysis on biological samples taken from the body deceased autopsy. These samples included body fluids, organ tissues, and other materials critical for determining whether the deceased had been exposed to harmful substances or drugs prior to death. He emphasized that toxicological testing is a detailed and often time-consuming scientific process that requires precision as it involves identifying and quantifying both common and uncommon toxins and substances that may be present in a person's system. According to IW6, a variety of chemical reagents, standards, and equipment are used in such analysis, and depending on the complexity of the substances involved, the full process could take weeks or even longer. Dr. Somiari stated that some of the toxicology analysis had already commenced, and the forensic team was committed to following strict procedural standards and scientific protocols in accordance with international best practices. However, he made it clear that the final results of the toxicology test were not yet ready as of the time of his appearance in court. He explained that in cases of suspicious or sudden death, toxicological analysis could provide insight into whether any drug, poison, or external substance played a role in the cause of death. The delay in concluding the analysis, he said, was not unusual given the need for thorough validation, control testing, and interpretation of findings. When asked about the timeline for the final report, IW6 stated that while he could not give an exact date, the Forensic Center was working diligently and with urgency. He promised to communicate the final readings to the appropriate authorities once the tests were completed and validated. IW6 further emphasized the importance of scientific accuracy over speed, noting that errors in toxicology can lead to false conclusions and compromise justice. Therefore, every result must be confirmed through replication and peer review before being presented officially. In his closing remarks, IW6 assured the court that Lagos State DNA and Forensic Center were treating the case with the highest priority. IW6 affirmed that he had no personal interest in the matter beyond ensuring scientific integrity and providing reliable fact-based analysis to assist in determining the true cause of Mohbad's death. Testimony of Ayobami Sadiq, aka Spending. Please give me 1 minute. Let me sip water. Ayobami Sadiq, popularly known as Spending, appeared before the coroner's court as a close associate and personal assistant to the late singer Ilero Oluwadimeji Aloba, widely known as Mohbad. He introduced himself as someone who lived with the deceased and supported him in various aspects of his personal and professional life. Spending stated that he had known Mohbad since their days in Okile to Ikorodu and had joined his household and worked him at Royal Pine Estate after Mohbad's marriage. According to IW7, his role primarily involved assisting Mohbad with errands, organizing bookings, and managing day-to-day issues around the house. He described the relationship between them as deeply trusting, stating that he stayed in the same house with Mohbad, his wife Wumi, their son Liam, and other team members such as Bami, the DJ, OG, the photographer, and Aduragbemi, Mohbad's younger brother. IW7 testified that Mohbad had been living in fear and often expressed concern about his safety, particularly due to his strained relationship with Malian music and its associates, including Sam Larry. IW7 stated that he was aware of at least two separate physical assaults, including Sam Larry. He recalled that one of the major incidents occurred during a video shoot at Elegushi Beach, where Sam Larry and his entourage stormed the location and attacked Mohbad. According to IW7, it was Latan who came to Mohbad's rescue, shielding him by locking him inside the car to prevent further assault. Spedin said that after the incident, Mohbad was visibly shaken and had started to live in constant fear. IW7 narrated that following this incident and others, Mohbad made multiple efforts to report to the police, including filing a petition against Naira Marley and Sam Larry. IW7 confirmed he was among those who accompanied Mohbad and Darusha to the police station. In one of the reports was lodged, he said that Mohbad never truly felt protected and Despite the petition, there was no follow-up action that gave him any confidence. IW7 testified that on Sunday, the 10th September 2023, Mohbad had a show in Ikorodu and that two Prado's SUVs were used to transport the team. IW7 was in the same vehicle as Mohbad, his wife, Wumi, their child, Mohbad's personal assistant, Darusha, Prime Boy, and the driver, and others. According to IW7, after the performance and while they were attempting to exit the event venue, there was an altercation between Mohbad and Prime Boy. The atmosphere was tense. Mohbad was reported to have struck the side glass of the vehicle in anger and suffered a laceration on his hand. As a result, Prime Boy left the scene shortly afterwards, and the rest of the team returned to the residence at Chevron. IW7 testified that by the following morning, Monday, Mohbad had become physically and emotionally withdrawn. Spending noted that the deceased was visibly distressed and his hand was swollen and untreated. Despite the injury, Mohbad allegedly refused to seek medical care or go to the hospital. His personal nurse, Fumi, was unavailable at the time. IW7 further explained that the argument was about Mohbad's perception that Prime Boy disrespected him publicly. Mohbad, in anger, stepped out and punched the vehicle window, resulting in a deep cut on his hand. On Tuesday, 12 September, the nurse arrived and administered 3 injections to Mohbad, including tetanus and paracetamol. Space is not really clear. Sorry, hold on. It's not really clear. Okay. That place is not really clear. Let me just go to where it's clear here. IW7 concluded his testimony by expressing grief and frustration at how events unfolded. He said he remained shaken by the incident and hoped that justice will be served so that Mohbad's suffering will not be in vain. Spending at testimony by Ibrahim Owoduni, aka Prime Boy, IW8. Ibrahim Owoduni, commonly known as Prime Boy, appeared before the coroner's court following accusations that he was involved in a confrontation with the deceased. Mohbad, shortly before his death, he was also present at the Ikorodu show on the night of Sunday, 10 September 2023. IW8 began by identifying himself as a close friend of Mohbad. Their relationship, according to him, dated back several years. IW8 explained further that Mohbad had played a key role in his life and musical aspirations, often encouraging and supporting him. Their bond was not only personal but extended to professional collaborations, performances, and shared life experiences, and stated that they frequently traveled together for shows, including the fateful event in Ikorodu on Sunday, 10th September 2023. According to IW8, they traveled to the Ikorodu show in 2 Prado SUVs. He was in the same vehicle as Mohbad, along with the deceased wife, their child, Mohbad's personal assistant, Harisha, the driver, Fidelis Esankpo, and other team members. The show went well, and after the performance, they returned to their vehicles while waiting due to traffic congestion. A verbal exchange occurred between himself and Mohbad. IW8 testified that Mohbad accused him of public disrespect and disloyalty. Once again, IW8 is Prime Boy. IW8 testified that Mohbad accused him of public disrespect and disloyalty. He described Mohbad's mood as agitated, and during the confrontation, Mohbad angrily smashed the glass window of the Prado SUV with his hand, sustaining a severe cut. Ibrahim denied any physical altercation or violence from his end, maintaining that Mohbad's injury was self-inflicted during the outburst. IW8 said he remained calm during the confrontation and did not retaliate or escalate the situation. Prime Boy, IW8, confirmed there was a disagreement between him and Mohbad as they were trying to exit the show venue after the performance. The vehicle was reportedly blocked by other cars and tensions flared. According to IW8, Mohbad tried to step out of the car to assess the situation. IW8 said he advised him not to, citing safety concerns, but Mohbad ignored the advice. The disagreement escalated into a verbal argument, and IW8 claimed that Mohbad struck him multiple times. IW8 denied retaliating or laying a hand on Mohbad. Instead, he said he attempted to de-escalate the situation and ultimately exited the vehicle. IW8 emphasized that he did not provoke the fight and that the argument was spontaneous, born out of stress and environmental chaos. IW8 explained that Mohbad was in a sensitive emotional state and things quickly spiraled. Upon his departure from the car, IW8 said he did not communicate with Mohbad again that night. He was later informed, along with the rest of the public, of Mohbad's passing 2 days later. The sudden spy shocked him, and he expressed grief over the loss of someone he described as a brother. During the cross-examination, the questioning revolved heavily around the nature and impact of the altercation that took place after the show. By the counsel's presence, and when the IW8 was asked whether he and Mohbad had fought in the past or had existed animosity, Prime Boy replied no, asserting that their relationship had always been cordial. IW8 insisted that the altercation of September 10th was their first major disagreement, and it was verbal from his side. IW8 was asked to confirm if Mohbad sustained injuries during the incident. Prime Boy admitted that Mohbad injured his hand, but claimed it was self-inflicted, as the deceased punched the side window of the vehicle out of frustration. IW8 insisted he did not lay a hand on Mohbad and did not cause the injury. He described himself as more of a pacifier than a fighter in the moment. IW8 was also questioned on why he did not follow up with Mohbad the next day, especially knowing there had been a heated argument. Prime Boy responded that he felt it was best to give Mohbad space and did not expect the disagreement to escalate into a long-term rift, much less a fatal outcome. The court pressed him on whether he had received any death threats or warnings following Mohbad's death. He admitted that public backlash was heavy. Many fans and social media users had accused him of foul play. He had to respond to police inquiries and express readiness to cooperate with any further investigation. IW8 denied ever threatening Mohbad or acting violently towards him. He also said he had no medical knowledge and was unaware that Mohbad had any underlying conditions or reactions that could have been triggered by emotional or physical stress. When asked whether he had contact with Mohbad's family or inner circle after the incident, he said no, except through the media and investigators. IW8 reaffirmed that he had no prior knowledge of any medical condition affecting Mohbad and was unaware of the injection of the nurse that reportedly visited the house on the day Mohbad died. IW8 said he was not involved in any of the treatment decisions, nor was he present when the late singer began vomiting or convulsing. In conclusion, Ibrahim Owodunni Prime Boy stated that he would never wish a harm on Mohbad and mourned him deeply as both a brother and a friend. He called for justice to be served and for the truth to come out, but insisted firmly on its innocence. Testimony of Professor Shoyemi IW9. Professor Sunday Shokunle Shoyemi appeared before the coroner's court and testified under oath as the consultant pathologist who conducted the post-mortem examination on the deceased, Ilerioluwa Aloba Mohbad. He clarified that he had no prior relationship with the deceased, his family, or any party involved in the case. He acted solely based on an official order for exhumation and postmortem examination signed by a magistrate and delivered through the state CID. Banti. He testified that the autopsy was conducted at Lasut Ikeja with several medical personnel present, including Dr. Sonny, senior consultant, Dr. Emiogun, Dr. Ngbehoma, and Dr. Onoyemi, registrar. That the deceased elder sister, Blessing Aloba, was also present and identified the body prior to examination. Officers from the state CID were also in attendance. Please, when I'm reading this thing, please, people should not, don't comment any cry emoji, please. Don't comment any cry emoji. But please keep on tapping. Professor Shoyemi explained the standard autopsy protocol, which includes external examination, and documentation, photography, internal organ removal, including brain, tissue sampling for histology, toxicology via samples of blood, vitreous fluid, bile, liver, kidney, bone marrow, and gastric contents. That because the body had been buried for 9 days and was not embalmed, again, that's because the body had been buried for 9 days and was not embalmed. It was in a moderate state of decomposition at the time of exhumation. This significantly affected soft tissue integrity and hindered visibility of potential trauma, especially superficial injuries. He stated that the only physical injury discovered was a 1.5 cm superficial scratch on the back of the deceased right forearm, not capable of causing death or substantial bleeding. Again, he stated that the only physical injury discovered was a 1.5 cm superficial scratch on the back of the deceased right forearm, not capable of causing death or substantial bleeding. All major organs showed signs of autolysis, self-decomposition. No skull fractures, internal hemorrhages, that's internal bleeding, or strangulation indicators were found. The hyoid bone, often fractured in strangulation cases, was intact. Toxicology samples were sent to the Lagos State DNA and Forensic Center, which then forwarded to a laboratory in the United States. Due to the absence of a local toxicology lab, the results revealed the presence of paracetamol within normal limits, caffeine within normal limits, diphenhydramine in brackets, and antihistamine similar to Piriton, slightly elevated but not in a fatal range. No narcotics, substances of abuse, common household poisons, or organophosphates, e.g. sniper or otapiapia, were detected. Thus, no toxic substance was found that could have caused PI or DEATH. The official cause of death was recorded as unascertained. IW9 opined that the only possible explanation based on all evidence and context could be anaphylactic shock, a fatal allergic reaction to an injected substance. However, this could not be confirmed because biomarkers required for diagnosis, e.g., tryptase levels, must be obtained within 12 to 24 hours of PI, and the body had been buried for 8 to 9 days. Thus, though the anaphylactic theory was medically viable, it could not be scientifically established in this instance. He clarified that no stab wounds, active bleeding at exhumation, or blunt force trauma were observed. Again, he clarified that no stab wounds, active bleeding at exhumation, or blunt force trauma were observed. IW9 rebutted and addressed social media rumors and public speculation that the body was bleeding during exhumation. He refuted this, explaining that the reddish fluid seen was clay-soaked rainwater and the casted used was substandard, disintegrating during removal. He also noted that the neck was bent, not broken, and clarified that there was no antemortem injury to the neck. The tight fit of the casket likely caused this postmortem distortion. IW9 presented photographic slides taken during the autopsy showing signs of decomposition, such as swollen eyes and lips, peeling skin, and organ deterioration. Tattoos were still visible due to their depth in the dermis. Organs like the liver, kidney, lungs, and heart were examined but yielded no conclusive findings due to advanced decay. IW9 firmly denied any allegations of bias, corruption, or inducement. He affirmed that his findings were based solely on medical science. Following globally accepted protocols, he added that the family had a representative throughout the examination and that every step was documented, photographed, and conducted with transparency. When asked whether another trained pathologist could arrive at a different conclusion, he replied in the negative, stating that a properly trained professional would draw the same inference given the circumstances. He further clarified to the court that toxicology turned around that time. Delay in toxicology results was due to international processing timelines, embalming and delay, lack of embalming, and 9-day delay in autopsy significantly compromised the quality of findings. Public misconception clarified the difference between anaphylactic death from normal drugs versus poisoning. Even a non-poisonous substance, e.g., piriton, can trigger fatal reactions in sensitive individuals. Tattoo ink. Tattoos were not considered contributory to death. Organs post-autopsy. Tissue samples are retained in the lab for microscopic analysis. Body was returned to the morgue post-autopsy. The autopsy report was formally identified and photographic evidence shown in court was admitted in evidence. In summary, IW9 informed the court that the autopsy did not reveal any fatal injuries or clear natural cause of death. The body was moderately decomposed, with limited visibility of internal markers. Toxicology testing was critical and pending at the time of his testimony. Only after combining autopsy results with toxicology data could a final opinion be offered regarding to the true cause of death. IW9 concluded by reaffirming his professional neutrality and commitment to providing scientific evidence without bias or testimony. Testimony of Boluwatife Adeyemo, aka Darosha. Let me take one. Let's continue. Testimony of Boluwatife Adeyemo, aka Darosha, IW10. Evidence in chief. Mr. Boluwatife Adeyemo, popularly known as Darosha, testified under oath that he was both a relative, nephew, and long-time personal assistant to the deceased, Ilerioluwaloba Mohbad. He clarified his familial link by stating he was the last child of Mohbad's maternal family, with Mohbad's mother being his elder sister. He described his role as PA to include managing show logistics, bookings, and overseeing activities during performances. On Sunday, 10 September 2023, he received an early morning call from Mohbad about an impromptu show scheduled for that day. Mohbad had received late notification and instructed Bolu Atife to meet up by 4 p.m. At Mohbad's residence, he met several individuals, including his wife, Spending, Prime Boy, DJ Bami, and other workers. They departed in two hired Prado vehicles, a standard arrangement for shows, that before heading to the Ikorodu Town Hall venue, they stopped at Cubana Chief Priest's house to meet with other artists. Upon arrival at the venue around 8 p.m., Mohbad requested an early performance due to discomfort and restlessness. After performing, he expressed a strong desire to leave, citing the chaotic atmosphere. Despite being urged to wait due to lack of personal security, he insisted on leaving. That, as part of an impromptu plan to distribute money to fans, Darusha was sent to withdraw 100,000 naira through POS. Through POS, accompanied by Adura, Mohbad's younger brother. On returning, they encountered a commotion around Mohbad's vehicle and discovered a physical altercation between Mohbad and Prime Boy. Mohbad has sustained a bleeding injury to his hand, and the Prado's side mirror was shattered. Attempts to apprehend Prime Boy was futile as he fled. Despite being visibly agitated, Mohbad distributed the money to fans and left with his team. On the ride home to Royal Pine Estate in Ajah, Mohbad remained angry over the altercation. His wife joined the conversation, admonishing him for engaging in fights at shows, particularly in the absence of security. This led to further arguments during the ride. On arrival at home, Darusha attempted to calm Mohbad and eventually left for his own residence around 2 a.m. He later attempted to reach Mohbad several times on Monday, but received no response. Believing the artist needed rest after the show, he was not alarmed. On Tuesday morning, a mechanic previously scheduled to fix Mohbad's faulty car arrived early, around 11:30 a.m. Darusha received a frantic call from Mohbad's wife, reporting that he was convulsing after being administered injections by a nurse. Darusha rushed out and later received confirmation from DJ Bami that Mohbad had died. Upon his arrival at Coroners Hospital, he found Mohbad laid out with cotton in his nostrils and ears. Unable to accept the sudden death, he proposed transferring him to another hospital, Perez Hospital. There, efforts to revive Mohbad with oxygen and CPR failed. Doctors informed the group that Mohbad had been dead for about 2 hours. Once again, unable to accept the sudden die, he proposed transferring him to another hospital, Perez Hospital. There, efforts to revive Mohbad with oxygen and CPR failed. Doctors informed the group that Mohbad had been died for about 2 hours. The body was transported back to the residence where Darusha encountered Mohbad's father. Heated disagreements ensued regarding immediate burial. Despite pleas from artists like Bella Shmurda and Zlatan, the father insisted on burial that night. IW10 further testified that he received 2 million from Davido intended for funeral expenses. He transferred 1 million to Mohbad's father and the remaining balance to Adura. He expressed dissatisfaction with the location chosen for burial in Ikorodu, describing it as remote and unbefitting. Touts reportedly attacked them at the burial ground. He later contributed another 1 million naira for fencing and security around the grave. Under cross-examination by Mr. Shitu Wahab's son, IW10 further testified and confirmed that Mohbad was healthy before and during the show, affirmed that the injury sustained was minor but untreated, agreed that untreated injuries could potentially be fatal, acknowledged that a nurse administered injections but was unaware of the type, unable to specify that treatment was given at either Kuramed or Perez Hospital. By Mr. Akinpelu Ogunbono. By Mr. Akinpelu Ogunbono. Denied that Mohbad performed first at the show, placing his performance around 9 to 10 p.m. Provided detailed seating arrangements in the Prado vehicles. Confirmed witnessing the scuffle from a distance and running after Prime Boy. Denied that other members of the team, such as OG and Spending, sustained visible injuries. Emphasized that the argument between Mohbad and his wife had started from home. By Mrs. Abiodun Kolawole, clarified that the scuffle witness was a physical altercation and not just verbal. Estimated the scuffle occurred between 11 p.m. and midnight. Explained that Prime Boy fled upon seeing him and Adura return with the money. Rejected the claim that he was in the viral video announcing Mohbad's spy in the vehicle, stating he was inside speaking with doctors at that time. By Mr. OSA Aromolaon, affirmed he took control of post-death arrangements out of loyalty and relationship, criticized the competence of the hospital staff, and failed to request detailed medical explanations for Mohbad's spy. Described an encounter with the nurse who admitted to administering a tetanus injection and was visibly distraught. By Mr. Kabir Akingbola, reiterated that Prime Boy and Mohbad had a history of fights, including in his Darusha's house. Indicated that CCTV at the house had not been functioning for some months and the landlord had been uncooperative. Acknowledged failure to obtain video or photographic documentation from the scuffle. Stated that police investigations later visited the residence but he was unaware of the outcome. By Mrs. Z.S. Makinde, stated that the event was for an alcoholic herbal drink promotion. Confirmed consumption of the drink but denied being intoxicated. Identified the nurse as Feishara, whom he met only on the day of the incident. Confirmed only one of Mohbad's two phones, iPhone 14 Pro Max, was in police custody. Cross-examination by Mr. David Nowoola affirmed that security at the venue did not prevent the fight due to their assignment to protect the general show, not individual artists. Confirmed Mohbad spread money to fans despite being injured. Recounted that the nurse mentioned administering a tetanus injection, but no other details were provided. By Mr. Olawole Adeniyi, reaffirmed that Mohbad had no underlying health conditions apart from the injury. Nurse claimed the injections were for pain in the hand. Darusha admitted nearly assaulting the nurse due to frustration and disbelief. Testimony of Ogedengbe Feyishayo, auxiliary nurse, IW11. Please, guys, let us answer. We're going to the testimony of the nurse. Let's pass over. Let's go. Testimony of Ogedengbe Feyishayo, in brackets auxiliary nurse, IW11. Ogedengbe Feyishayo, a self-described auxiliary nurse who trained at Cornerstone Hospital, Akute, between 2014 and 2017, appeared before the coroner's court in connection with the death of the Pai of Ilerioluwa Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad. She confirmed that on the 12th of March 2025, she had signed a written 2023 rather. She had signed a written deposition which she adopted as her evidence before the court. In her testimony, this is in her testimony, IW11 narrated that on the 11th of September 2023, she was contacted by a certain spending, Abayomi Sodiq, to administer a tetanus injection to Mohbad, who reportedly had a cut in his hand. IW11 explained that she initially resisted because she had not seen the extent of the wound, requesting a photo of the injury before deciding what medication to procure. Despite her hesitation, she eventually received a photo shortly before arriving at the estate and proceeded with her visit. Upon her arrival, IW11 was led upstairs to meet Mohbad and his wife, Wunmi. She described observing that Mohbad's right arm was swollen. She proceeded to administer a series of injections, including tetanus on his upper left arm via intramuscular route, paracetamol for pain relief, and ceftriaxone as an antibiotic. According to IW11, Mohbad remained alert and communicative during this time, asking questions about each medication. She also confirmed that his wife was present and actively engaged in the process, even stating familiarity with the medications. Shortly after administering the ceftriaxone injection, Mohbad began to show signs of a reaction. He became nauseous and went to vomit. After vomiting, he returned and sat on the floor. IW11 further testified that she observed goosebumps on his body and immediately informed the wife of the unusual reaction. At that point, the wife told IW11 that Mohbad usually reacts to injections and becomes fine once water is poured on him. Following this revelation, IW11 criticized the wife for not disclosing this information earlier and quickly left with the DJ spending to get hydrocortisone injection from a nearby pharmacy. Under cross-examination by Dr. Wahab Shitu San, she admitted to administering injections without conducting any prior diagnosis. She was not a certified doctor or a pharmacist and acknowledged her limited awareness of the potential side effects of the medications used. Dr. Shitu listed numerous side effects such as vomiting, dizziness, diarrhea, rash, allergic reactions including anaphylaxis, and kidney damage associated with ceftriaxone and paracetamol, to which she responded with varying degree of ignorance. He accused her of potentially contributing to Mohbad's death through medical negligence. IW11 denied the accusation but admitted that she did not consider or know of the full risk before administering the injections. When confronted about the series of events, IW10 affirmed that Mohbad was conscious throughout and that she made efforts to mitigate his reaction by seeking hydrocortisone. She also acknowledged that a delay occurred in getting the medicine due to the unavailability of a vehicle and pharmacy stock. She left Mohbad with his wife, not knowing what transpired in her absence. By the time she returned, he was already being conveyed out of the house. Under cross-examination by O.F. Okuwobi, she clarified that her visit was based on information received from Spending and Ayobami, which implied the case involved a mere hand cut. She maintained that the treatment she brought was general and appropriate for such an injury. IW10 Sorry. IW10 reiterated that although she should have asked more questions regarding allergies, the people around, especially the wife, also had a responsibility to inform her of Mohbad's sensitivity to injections. IW10 noted that Mohbad was coherent and communicative throughout her treatment, even inquiring about the injections. Feyishaya also explained that the reaction began only after the administration of the third injection, ceftriaxone. Despite the reactions, she confirmed Mohbad did not convulse in her presence. It was only while returning from the pharmacy that they received word that he had begun convulsing. Further cross-examination by Abiodun Kolawole focused on her academic background and nursing experience. IW11 admitted to having only O levels and training as an auxiliary nurse for 3 years, followed by 1 year of hospital work and then home services. She confirmed that Mohbad was communicative during the injections and recalled his questions about the medications. IW11 ended her testimony by stating that by the time she returned from the second pharmacy, Mohbad had already been taken outside, shirtless, and placed in a vehicle. She was unable to administer the hydrocortisone injection. She accompanied the wife in the front seat of the car. Testimony of Mr. Abdulaziz Fashola Naira Mali. Ladies and gentlemen, we must get to 1 million likes because this show, we're going to have it throughout the entire weekend. So let's keep on tapping. Motivate me by me seeing the taps increase. Thank you. Testimony of Mr. Abdulaziz Fashola Naramali, IW12. On the 21st of March 2025, Mr. Abdulaziz Fashola, known publicly as Naramali, appeared before the coroner's court via virtual hearing to provide evidence in an inquest into the death of Ilere Oluwa Oladimeji Aloba Mohbad. He introduced himself as a recording artist and musician residing at, I'm not going to mention his address. He adopted his written deposition on oath dated 20th March 2025 as his formal testimony. In that deposition, he referenced stamps in his international passport showing exit from Nigeria via Muritala Mohammed International Airport on 31st August 2023, arrival in Amsterdam on 1st September 2023, return to Nigeria on 3rd October 2023. These passport pages were tendered and admitted as exhibits before the coroner. Counsel for Mohbad's family. Counsel for Mohbad's family, Dr. Wahab Shitu San, commenced the cross-examination by reminding the witness that he had sworn on the Quran, implying moral and religious obligation to tell the truth. He noted that the witness's statement was silent about key events between December 2019 and September 2022, when Mohbad was signed to his label, Malian Music. Naira Marley confirmed that he had not elaborated on that period in his statement. When asked whether he had submitted a copy of the contract between himself and Mohbad, he admitted he had not. He acknowledged signing Mohbad to his label because he recognized his talent. He stated that Mohbad left the label due to a disagreement with his manager, not with him personally. He clarified that when the disagreement became apparent during a group chat, he advised Mohbad that he could change his manager. After a physical fight occurred between Mohbad and the manager, IW said he was called from the studio and came out to intervene. He denied reporting the incident to the police. When asked about the alleged non-payment of contractual obligations, objections were raised and sustained. That regarding viral videos allegedly showing Mohbad expressing fear for his life and blaming IW12, he denied that any such videos involved him or depicted threats from him. He acknowledged public perception and viral content suggesting his involvement, but maintained he never threatened Mohbad and had not seen him in over a year since he left Malian Music. IW12 on this issue of Sam Larry confirmed knowing him, but denied that Sam Larry worked for him or Malian Music. He also denied knowing of any assault by Sam Larry on Mohbad, despite a widely circulated video. He insisted Sam Larry was not affiliated with Malian Music. He strongly denied exploiting Mohbad financially. IW12 explained that his decision to appear via virtual hearing was due to security threats he had received in Lagos. He claimed to have received death threats and believed there wasn't adequate security for him to safely attend court in person. On whether his actions caused emotional distress that contributed to Mohbad's death, he replies that the allegations were false and emphasized his cooperation with the police, including being in detention for 2 months at Klanti, Lagos. He denied that Mohbad ever filed any official police report against him. IW12 also revealed that Mohbad's family, his father, mother, and an imam came to beg him in person over the video in which Mohbad had said if anything happened to him, Naira Marley and others should be held responsible. According to Naira Marley, Mohbad later apologized privately, and he had video evidence of these apologies. When asked why Mohbad would make such serious allegations if he was not afraid, Naira Marley attributed it to Mohbad being under the influence or in a mentally unstable state. He added that at the time he helped Mohbad get medical attention, paying for hospital bills and supporting him out of concern. IW12 further argued that Mohbad was never afraid of him, citing examples of Mohbad releasing disc tracks, laughing online about Malian Music, and operating freely after leaving the label. He emphasized that there was no ongoing relationship between them after the exit from the label. IW12 was further cross-examined by Mr. M.A. Salahuddin, counsel to Ayobami Sadiq, aka Spenning, questioned why Naira Marley had stated in his deposition that certain individuals may have spent Mohbad's last moments with him when he admitted never meeting them. Naira Marley insisted the language may have was speculative and not a confirmation. OSA Aramolahon, counsel to the Nigerian Bar Association, Ikorodu branch, probed Naira Marley on the clout and influence he claimed not to have caused anyone's death. He tried to draw the implication that Naira Marley distinguished himself from those who might have much influence. Naira Marley maintained that he lacked any will or ability to harm or contract harm on another person. He further questioned the legality of Mohbad's contract, implying it might have lacked proper corporate form, e.g., 2 directors. Naira Marley claimed the contract was drafted by his UK lawyer, emailed to Nigeria, and signed by both him and Mohbad after both parties' lawyers reviewed it. When asked whether any formal legal dispute arose from Mohbad's exit, Naira Marley denied it, reiterating that there was no issues between them, only between Mohbad and his manager. On why he was detained for over 2 months, he claimed it was due to public pressure, not because of any evidence. He confirmed filing a fundamental rights lawsuit to Lagos Island High Court over his detention, not to exonerate himself, but to reclaim his liberty. When reminded that Ajishebiri Sultan DJ Bami had testified to seeing Naira Marley with Mohbad in June 2023 at a club in Victoria Island, Naira Marley denied ever seeing Mohbad after the original dispute and maintained that he had not seen him for over a year. Witness, Mr. Oluwasomi Falade. Okay, so profession, legal practitioner, barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Role, personal lawyer to the deceased, Mohbad. Relationship to deceased, legal counsel and private client relationship. So this is the witness of lawyer of Mohbad. Evidence in chief. Mr. Oluwasomi Falade appeared before the coroner to provide his account of legal services rendered to the late Ileri Oluwaloba Mohbad. He testified under oath that he had acted as Mohbad's personal lawyer on various matters prior to the singer's death and had no business with Mohbad's record label, Malian Music. He affirmed that he met Mohbad in person and maintained both in-person and remote communication with the deceased. On numerous occasions, Mohbad consulted him for legal advice, contract review, and representation. That one of the most prominent episodes recalled by the witness was the preparation and submission of a petition on behalf of Mohbad, dated 27th June 2023, and addressed to the Assistant Inspector General of Police, Zones 2, Headquarters, Onikon, Lagos. The petition detailed a violent assault incident at Elegushi Beach on 25th June 2023, in which Mohbad was allegedly attacked during a video shoot by Sam Larry and his gang, who according to the petition, used dangerous weapons and forcibly disrupted the shoot. Mr. Falade explained that in the petition, Mohbad also mentioned a history of threats, previous harassment, and a general state of fear for his life. He stated that Mohbad narrated how he had been persistently trailed, assaulted, and psychologically tormented by individuals connected to his former label and their associates. The petition also noted that despite the artist's exit from Malian music, he was still being pursued and threatened. A video of the assault at Election Beach was annexed to the petition. The witness stated clearly that he personally submitted the petition and followed up at Zone 2 Onikon. He was surprised when the police failed to take prompt action, despite video evidence and formal complaints. IW13 noted that after filing the petition, Mohbad remained deeply worried about his safety and felt unsupported by security agencies. Expressing fears of being ambushed, harmed, or even spied, he disclosed that the singer repeatedly asked him to find ways to ensure his safety, including discussing the possibility of filing a fundamental human rights suit for protection of life and property. IW13 explained that beyond the Zone 2 petition, he advised Mohbad on several legal options, including filing a civil suit for damages against his former record label, seeking judicial intervention in the form of a restraining order, exploring criminal complaints and follow-ups with higher police authorities, formalizing a legal disengagement process to remove the singer from all past obligations. He recalled that Mohbad remained anxious and hesitant about pursuing civil suits, fearing retaliation or further isolation in the music industry. The artist expressed that he was receiving little or no help from the authorities, and that even his colleagues were distancing themselves from him. Mr. Falade said that in one of their final conversations, Mohbad sounded emotionally distressed, and paranoid, describing feeling haunted, betrayed, and cornered. Under cross-examination, the witness maintained composure and reiterated the authenticity of the petition filed. He emphasized that the petition was officially acknowledged by Zone 2. No substantial investigation or arrest was made in connection to the Legushi assault. He was not informed of any resolution, closure, or prosecution from the petition. IW13 was asked whether he personally witnessed any of the attacks described by Mohbad. He responded that he did not witness the assault but acted solely on instructions and evidence presented by the client, including video footage, photographs, and voice notes. When asked about the status of the litigation at the time of Mohbad's spy, Mr. Falade confirmed that no civil case had been filed yet, but plans were ongoing to pursue one when Mohbad spied. IW13 clarified that Mohbad had no ongoing criminal case or arrest warrant, and that contrary to rumors, there was no court order stopping the singer from traveling or performing. Mr. Oluwasomi Falade stood by the validity of the legal complaints made by the deceased, stating that the singer was deeply troubled by his experiences in the industry. He expressed concern that the police failed to act on a well-documented and credible complaint and noted that this inaction may have contributed to the singer's declining mental health and feelings of abandonment. He reaffirmed that the deceased sought help through legal and institutional channels. The police had sufficient information to act but failed to do so. Mohbad was under severe emotional and psychological pressure before his spy. IW13 confirmed that an assault occurred and was formally reported. He described the police inaction as a source of emotional deterioration. He emphasized that legal mechanisms failed the deceased. Okay, guys, We have stopped tapping. We have stopped tapping. We have stopped tapping. Let's get these likes to 1 million. Now, the next testimony is testimony of Dr. Nwam Okereke Eze, Chief Forensic Pathologist. So we are going to the second autopsy. Give me 2 minutes. But by that time, please let's keep on tapping. 2 minutes, I'll be back. 2 minutes, please. Okay. So guys, let's keep on power tapping. Like I said, let's get to 1 million likes. This is not the end. We just this is just the final CTC. Coming up tomorrow, we'll be having the CTCs of the other days, the ones of last year's, the ones we missed. Okay, so where am I? What I'm reading has just about 80 pages. We're in page 7. Okay, so let's go. Testimony of Dr. Unwan Okereke is a chief forensic pathologist. Second autopsy report by the expert forensic examiner, Dr. Unwan Okereke Eze, a consultant at University College Hospital, UCH Ibadan, made his appearance particularly weighty. IW14 took the witness box and was led in examination in chief by Dr. Wahab Shitu San. His credentials were first laid before the court. He had received medical training at the University of Ibadan, completed his specialty in anatomical pathology, followed by subspecialty training in forensic medicine at the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine, Melbourne, with additional international postings in the UK, University of Glasgow, and the Mayo Clinic, USA. Since 2009, he had been serving as chief consultant forensic pathologist at UCH Ibadan and had been involved in hundreds of death investigations globally. Under direct examination, Dr. Eze carefully walked the court through the structure of his forensic report, highlighting the following. Pages 3 to 4, his professional resume. Page 5, the scope and description of the services rendered. Page 6 to 8, overview of available documents and referenced materials. Page 9 to 11, a review summary of the first autopsy report. Page 12 to 13, observations and critique of that earlier autopsy. Page 14 to 19, his own second autopsy findings. Page 20, expert comments. Page 21 to 24, informed opinion. Page 25, summary. Appendixes 1 to 4, supporting documents including toxicology results and court orders authorizing the second autopsy. Dr. Eze further testified and explained that due to the state of the decomposition of the body at the time of the second autopsy, following burial and exhumation, special methodologies were required. 3 core techniques were applied to exclude trauma as a cause of death. Skull and dural scrapping. He conducted a crack pot test, a method used to detect skull fractures by listening for changes in vibration, likening it to tapping a clay pot for cracks. No cranial trauma was found. Again, no cranial trauma was found. Spinal and neck examination. He examined the spinal column for signs of blunt force injury, particularly around the neck and base, and found no signs of trauma. Spinal cord dissection. Though significant autolysis had occurred, Dr. Eze confirmed there was no visible trauma to the spinal cord, and histological examination revealed only postmortem degradation, not injury. He concluded that no traumatic injury, head, spine, or elsewhere could be established from physical examination, given the body's condition. Toxicology analysis. The toxicology was another focal point. Dr. Eze classified the analysis into 3 drug categories: drug abuse substances, e.g., cannabis, cocaine, heroin, methadone; psychotropic medication such as risperidone; general over-the-counter medicines like paracetamol and antihistamines; that all results from the second toxicology test performed using muscle tissue samples, as no blood, urine, or gastric contents were available, were negative for all three categories. However, he did acknowledge a discrepancy. The first autopsy's toxicology had detected substances like diphenhydramine and an antihistamine and acetaminophen paracetamol, both of which he agreed could have been missed in his test due to the degradation of the muscle over time. He stated that I was challenging, but that's the reality of postmortem science in tropical environments. Postmortem interval was around 9 days before first autopsy and months before the second. When asked to give his medical opinion on the cause of death, Dr. Eze was deliberate, careful, and candid. He further explained that based strictly on anatomical evidence, no disease or pathology was demonstrable that could explain Mohbad's death. However, it was also clear this did not rule out disease. Rather, it meant that no disease could be proven with the available tissue due to decomposition. IW13 testified that from a clinical pathological perspective, he leaned towards the possibility of an anaphylactic reaction, a severe allergic reaction potentially caused by the injection Mohbad received prior to his collapse. While diphenhydramine, an allergy medication, was present in the first toxicology report, Dr. Eze acknowledged that even antihistamines can paradoxically cause allergic reactions in rare cases. Other antibiotics or painkillers, if improperly administered, would also trigger fatal anaphylaxis. There was no known history of illness. The deceased was not hospitalized or receiving treatment before this event. Based on everything before me, the plausible scenario is a rapid, possibly allergic reaction to an injected substance. But he mentioned a professional boundary. Speculation is not the job of a forensic pathologist. I rely on only on evidence, and I must conclude cause of death is anatomically undetermined. Manner of death, medical misadventure. Dr. Wahad Shibu pressed him further on the manner of death, not just the cause. Was it natural, accidental, or something else? Dr. Eze explained that while it is not always appropriate for a pathologist to state manner of death definitely, in this case, based on all findings and the context of unprescribed injections by a non-physician, it fits the intentional category known as medical misadventure. He referenced the WHO classification code Y69, which covers fatalities arising from unintended medical harm due to unapproved or improperly administered treatment. We were beaten by nature. Decomposition erased many clues, but what remains points to an unfortunate medical episode, possibly preventable, possibly triggered by poor practice, but no conclusive criminal act is detectable anatomically. IW14, still under cross-examination, confirmed to the court that he had been paid in full for his assignment. His role was neutral and scientific, not for advocacy. That both hospital autopsies and medico-legal forensic autopsies follow rigorous procedures, including consent protocols, evidence chain, and documentation standards. Under cross-examination by Abiodun Kolawole, African Women Lawyers Association, Dr. Eze repeated the two-tiered system of autopsy, clinical versus forensic. He emphasized that in forensic autopsies, such as this one, authority comes from the coroner, not the family, and findings are reported to the court, not to the next of kin. When asked how many exhumed corpses he had worked on, Dr. Eze said he had performed thousands of autopsies, including exhibitions. He referenced his work with international disaster teams, including mass fatalities during the 2015 Nepal earthquake. He summarized the many branches of pathology: anatomical, chemical, microbiological, virology, hematology, confirming his microbiological, confirming his specialty was in anatomical and forensic pathology. the father of all pathology branches. Testimony of Samson Balogun, aka Sami Larry, IW 15. Evidence in chief. Mr. Samson Balogun Eletu, aka Sam Larry, testified in compliance with a court summons served on 21st August 2024. He confirmed under oath he deposed to a written deposition on the 10th of April 2024 and formally adopted it in court as his evidence. The written deposition was admitted into record. IW 15 stated that his relationship with the late Mohbad was solely business related, often involving invitations to perform at shows. He recounted that he had paid Mohbad 2 million naira to perform at his birthday party in Dubai, but the singer failed to honor the commitment. This incident, he explained, led to significant disappointment and financial loss on his part, as he had made elaborate arrangements for the performance, including flight tickets and accommodation for Mohbad, his wife, and manager. Cross-examination by Mr. Wahab Shitu San, late counsel to the deceased father. Len Silk took the witness through a detailed examination of his past dealings with Mohbad, particularly the allegation of assault at Elegushi Beach on 25th June 2023. Sam Larry confirmed that he had approached Mohbad that day to demand repayment of the 2 million naira he paid for the Dubai show. He admitted saying, "You will not." Sorry. "You will not leave here without giving me my money." However, he denied threatening or assaulting the deceased, insisting that it was a verbal confrontation only. IW 15 emphasized that the interaction ended without violence, and as Latan, another artist present at the scene, calmed the situation. He claimed the entire episode was captured in a 9-second video and that after the encounter, everybody went on to eat amala together peacefully. Sam Larry confirmed that a petition was filed against him by Mohbad following the beach incident, accusing him of molestation and harassment. He was detained briefly at Alagbon and later released. In response, he filed a counter petition denying the allegations and challenging Mohbad to produce evidence of assault or damage to any property, such as the camera allegedly broken. When pressed by Mr. Wahash, Sam Larry admitted that his confrontation could have come across as threatening, but insisted it was not meant as such. He denied ever laying hands on Mohbad. Cross-examination by Mrs. Abiola Kolawole, counsel to the African Women Lawyer Association. Mrs. Kolawole focused her question on inconsistencies in the witness and narrative and his previous interaction with Mohbad. Sam Larry recounted that he had invited Mohbad for 3 or 4 shows, one in Dubai, January 7, 2027, 2021, another in Kenya, January 21, 2021, and one in Akure. He stated he paid 1 million for the Akure show and 2 million for the Dubai show. He claimed Mohbad had a good character and there had been no misunderstanding between them until the 2023 Dubai show debacle. Mrs. Kolawole questioned Sam Larry on several social media videos purportedly showing him beating Mohbad and intimidating him, especially at Chandelier Club and Elegushi Beach. Sam Larry denied all the allegations and insisted no such beating occurred. He maintained that that any viral video were either manipulated or misinterpreted. When asked about an individual named Sultan Ayobami Ajishegiri, Sam Larry initially denied knowing him, but later admitted knowledge of an individual involved in an altercation at the club who broke a bottle. He clarified that the person was chased out by the club bouncers, not beaten. On the issue of payment for shows, Sam Larry said the 2 million naira was paid into the account of the record label via an account number Mohbad personally sent him through Instagram. Although the account belonged to the label, he insisted Mohbad was liable for the refund since he initiated and approved the transaction. He denied any attempt to harm Mohbad, reiterating that after the Elegushi Beach confrontation, that they ate together and dispersed peacefully. Cross-examination by Mr. Kabir Akingbulu, counsel to the deceased wife and son. Mr. Akimbolu scrutinized the timelines of events and the nature of the counter petition filed by Sam Larry. The witness acknowledged that the confrontation at Elegushi Beach happened on the 25th day of June 2023 and that he only wrote his counter petition in July 2023 after Mohbad had already reported him. He confirmed being invited and detained by the police and that a shortee secured his release. IW15 admitted the petition he filed was in reaction to what he considered false allegations from Mohbad, including claims of assault and destruction of property. When asked about the cause of Mohbad's death, Sam Larry stated that he was in Dubai when the incident occurred and he had no knowledge of the circumstances surrounding it. He advised that those who were with the deceased in the last 24 to 48 hours should be summoned for questioning. When the IW15 was questioned by the members of the public present in court, IW15 responded that he confirmed that he paid the 2 million naira in January 2023. He claimed he had proof of payment and he reiterated that the debt predated both the Chandelier Club and Elegushi Beach incidents. He denied beating Mohbad and also denied that any marks or bruises on the deceased were caused by him. He stated that the viral video where he was heard saying the dead do not rise except in movies was from 2013, not 2023, and that it was being wrongly used to malign him. He admitted to entering Mohbad's video shoot premises with the intent to confront him over the debt, but denied carrying any cane or physical weapon. When asked if the petition he filed was a reaction to a legitimate grievance or a retaliatory move, he claimed it was in defense of his reputation and a demand for evidence. IW15 insisted that his relationship with Mohbad was professional. He had no physical altercation with the deceased. His confrontation was verbal and centered solely on recovering a debt. Viral videos and accusations were either manipulated or taken out of context. He voluntarily ignored police invitations and filed a counter petition. He had no involvement in Mohbad's death and was not in Nigeria when the incident occurred. He believed those who were with Mohbad in the final hours should be interrogated for clarity. Despite being confronted with multiple inconsistencies and witness testimonies suggesting harassment, Sam Larry remained firm that he was innocent of all forms of intimidation or violence towards the late singer. Testimony of Fidelis Esanko. Let me have it. Let's power tap, guys. Let's power tap, guys. We're staying on this 963 for too long. Testimony of Fidelis Esanko. Examination in chief by Dr. Wahab Shitu San. Mr. Fidelis Esanko recounted that his first encounter with Mohbad occurred on the day he was hired to transport him for a music event. He was contacted by an agent for the car hire job and directed to meet Mohbad at his residence on Orchard Road. On arrival, he waited for about 3 hours. Eventually, Mohbad came out accompanied by his wife and child. They entered Fidelis' car, waiting for a second private vehicle to join them. That when the second vehicle arrived, the convoy moved from Orchard Road to Oniru, where they met with a celebrity known as Chief Priest. From there, Fidelis drove Mohbad, his wife, and one friend to ShopRite to purchase some items. After that stop, both cars proceeded to the show venue in Ikorodu. That during the journey, Mohbad and his wife engaged in a heated argument, which Mr. Esanko could not fully comprehend due to the language Yoruba. On arrival at the Ikorodu venue, the quarrel intensified. The wife expressed her frustration, stating that Mohbad was disgracing her and the child, and she threatened to leave. The group, including Fidelis, pleaded with her until she re-entered the car. Later, police officers and soldiers arrived to escort Mohbad to the stage where he performed. After the performance, as he returned to the car, area boys surrounded them, demanding money. Mohbad responded angrily that he had no money and threatened to beat them. Fidelis advised him not to alight from the car, warned that the crowd could harm him. That despite protests from his wife and friend, Mohbad insisted on coming down. The wife, seeking to calm the situation, transferred 71,000 naira to Fidelis' account. He and one of Mohbad's brothers went to withdraw the money, which was then distributed, 10k each to the area boys. The police and the soldiers Although it is to the area boys, the police and soldiers. Although his disagreement over the amount given escalated, Mohbad's anger again. IW16 testified that Mohbad opened the door and hit his friend with it, then later stepped out and began physically attacking the friend. During the altercation, Mohbad's hand struck the vehicle glass, breaking it and causing him to bleed. Though there was visible blood on the car's foot mat, no medical attention was provided at the time. The group returned to Mohbad's residence without visiting a hospital or pharmacy. He further told the court that while driving back, a journey of about 1 to 2 hours, Mohbad and his wife had another intense quarrel in Yoruba. The wife allegedly insulted Mohbad, calling him a thief and a useless person. Mohbad reportedly threatened to beat her, prompting the driver to plead with him to remain calm. On arrival at home around 1 a.m., Mohbad exited the car. Fidelis, concerned about the broken glass and not having access codes to re-enter the estate, decided to spend the night in the vehicle outside the gate. At about 3 a.m., three of Mohbad's associates knocked on his window requesting to use another vehicle, Mohbad's own, to buy medicine because the injured hand was still bleeding. Fidelis declined as his fuel was low. They left using Mohbad's vehicle. The next morning, around 8 to 11 a.m., Fidelis knocked repeatedly on the gate. Eventually, the wife came out. She was dressed casually and appeared to be calling someone, possibly a repairman. Fidelis asked about Mohbad's condition and she replied that he would be fine. She also arranged for someone to fix the broken vehicle glass. IWC stated that from the time Mohbad sustained the injury, approximately 11:30 p.m., to the time he left the house around noon the next day, there was no record of Mohbad visiting a hospital or receiving professional medical help. No nurse arrived and no first aid was given. According to his account, the next day, Tuesday, around 9 a.m., Fidelis received a strange call from someone who advised him to report to the police station. When he called back, the number didn't go through. Later that afternoon, his agents informed him via Facebook that Mohbad had died. IW16 described this as a shocking and distressing revelation. Under cross-examination by Abiodun Kolawole, IW16 confirmed he had been driving for over 20 years, that he picked up Mohbad on a Sunday and acknowledged that at the point of pickup, Mohbad appeared healthy, happy, and was playing with his child. He testified that the journey was initially peaceful but turned tense after the performance, that he observed Mohbad sweating unusually inside a cold car with the AC running. He described the argument between Mohbad and his wife as harsh, not friendly. He witnessed the scuffle post-performance, noting that Mohbad attacked his friend, who did not retaliate. That blood was seen on the car's foot mat, but due to night time, he could not determine whether it was gushing or dripping. He confirmed that after dropping off Mohbad, he did not hear any arguments inside the house while sleeping in his car. He reiterated that Mohbad was not treated for about 15 hours after sustaining the injury. Cross-examination by Kabir Akingbolu, IW16, acknowledged that Mohbad was an adult capable of making his own medical decisions. He admitted that the wife suggested going to a hospital, but Mohbad declined. He considered that the wife took initiative by transferring money to avoid conflicts and also asked about nearby hospitals. However, he also reiterated as a wife or even as a girlfriend, she should have taken further steps to get him to a hospital. He clarified a previous comment suggesting that if he were in Mohbad's position, he would have reacted violently to the level of verbal abuse from the wife. He further confirmed to the court that he did not personally see Mohbad the morning after the incident, only the wife. He denied social media rumors that Mohbad tried to throw the baby off Third Mainland Bridge. He clarified that though the wife suggested treatment, no hospital or nurse was involved for over 10 to 15 hours after the injury. He testified that Mohbad's friend was not in the car when they returned home and that the soldier/police who escorted Mohbad after the performance did not follow them back. He witnessed an incident where the wife grabbed Mohbad's shirt, causing his neck chain to break. Mohbad later refused to keep the chain. Mr. Fidelis Esampo's testimony painted a detailed picture of the final hours he spent with Murat, from relatively normal performance trip, escalating tensions, physical confrontation, delayed medical response, and ultimately an unexplained death that left him deeply shocked. His statement highlighted a visible injury that went untreated for a prolonged period, emotional tension between the deceased and his spouse, a lack of urgency or follow through in assessing medical help, his own efforts to mediate and later investigate the situation out of concern. Witness Dr. Owala Chigozie Perez Hospital, IW 17. Guys, let's keep on tapping. Let's keep on tapping. Let's get to 1M before I finish. Witness Dr. Owala Chigozie Perez Hospital, IW 17. Examination in chief. Guys, please let's back up. Dr. Owala Chigozie testified that he had no prior relationship with the deceased, Ilerioluwa Aloba, also known as Mohbad, before the day he encountered him at Perez Hospital. On the day in question, Mohbad was brought into the hospital already lifeless, according to the accounts of the people who brought him. Upon receiving the patient, the medical team of Perez Hospital immediately commenced cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR. He confirmed that oxygen and emergency procedures were administered as required under professional protocol. IW 17 further explained that despite all resuscitative efforts, Mohbad showed no signs of life and he was subsequently confirmed dead on arrival. He noted that there was no evidence of anaphylactic reaction, such as or tongue swelling, rashes, or cyanosis typically associated with severe allergic responses. He added that the body bore no visible bruises or physical injuries at the time of examination at Perez Hospital. Upon further inquiry, IW 17 stated that his medical documentation was completed at the time of presentation and the appropriate entries were made on the hospital's death register and records. He maintained that the persons who brought in the deceased included a young lady believed to be his wife or partner and a few male companions. They were all visibly distressed. Cross-examination by Mr. Wahab Shitu San, lead counsel to the deceased father. Question: did the deceased exhibit any sign of life when brought in? Answer: no. He was brought in lifeless. All emergency measures failed. Question: were there signs of inquiry, bruises, or violence? Answer: no. No signs of injury or bruises were observed externally. Question: was there any reaction that suggested poisoning or allergy? Answer: no. There was no rashes, no tongue or facial swelling, nothing that indicated an anaphylactic reaction. Question: was any toxicological test carried out? Answer: no, since the patient was brought in dead and we are not a forensic center, no such test was conducted. By Mrs. Kolawole, counsel to the African Women Lawyers Association. Question: did the person who brought him explain what happened before they arrived? Answer: they only said he collapsed after being given an injection at home by a nurse. No details of the medication were known to me at the time. Question: was it reported to the police? Answer: as a rule, we register all deaths, but I cannot say specifically whether a police report was made at that time. It is usually the responsibility of the next of kin of those who brought in the deceased to notify police if needed. By Mr. Akinpelu Ogunbono, counsel to the wife. Question: did the young woman presumed wife appear shocked or distressed? Answer: yes. She was crying and confused, like the rest of them. Question: was any attempt made to notify lawsuits or refer the case? Answer: no, because at the point we declared him dead, there was no further treatment or referral to be made. Question: was an ambulance used? Answer: no ambulance brought the deceased. He was brought in a private vehicle. Dr. Uala Chigoze stated that Perez Hospital was not involved in any prior treatment of the deceased. The hospital only encountered him when he was already dead or beyond resuscitation. He he reaffirmed that no prior medication history was available at the time, no signs of trauma, allergy, or poisoning were found upon immediate physical examination. The hospital performed basic resuscitative procedures as a last effort. Death was pronounced at presentation and the body was not admitted into the hospital's morgue. He did not sign a death certificate nor was he responsible for the final autopsy. He confirmed that the deceased body was taken back into the same vehicle it arrived in and was never left in the care of the hospital overnight. He provided clarity that Mohbad was brought in dead or nearly dead. Perez Hospital did not administer any injections or treatment prior to collapse. There was no visible injuries or signs of foul play. The cause of death could not be medically ascertained based solely on his visual and physical examination. The timeline of death appeared to precede hospital arrival. He concluded by affirming his neutrality, medical ethics, and commitment to record keeping standards. By way of address, all parties rested their case on the testimonies of all the witnesses called. Inquest was further adjourned for its verdict. Brief recap of the witness testimonies. This inquest was convened in accordance with Section 14 and 15 of the Lagos State Coroner System Law 2015. The law mandates the coroner court to investigate and determine the cause and circumstances of any sudden, violent, suspicious, or unnatural death within its jurisdiction. The death of Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Aloba, popularly known professionally as Mohbad, triggered significant public concern and social unrest, necessitating a formal coroner's inquest. The deceased was alleged to have died on 12 September 2023 at the Coramed Hospital, Lekki Phase 1, Lagos State. It was alleged that the death followed complications arising from the injection administered by the nurse under circumstances involving the medical intervention and possible psychosocial distress. The inquest was convened to determine the identity of the deceased, time and place and manner of death. Proceedings commenced following a formal request addressed to the Chief Coroner of Lagos State, Honorable Justice M.A. Dada. This court recognizes its fact-finding jurisdiction under Rule 3 of the Coroner System Law 2015. The coroner is not empowered to determine criminal guilt or civil liability, but may make recommendations for public interest and justice to forestall similar future occurrences. The inquest commenced on 29 September 2023 with a preliminary meeting and proceeding with a total of 19 witnesses appearing before the court. According to the witness testimonies, Mohbad had been involved in multiple incidents of assault and psychological stress in the months leading to his death. On 25th June 2023, the deceased was alleged to have been assaulted at Elegushi Beach during a music video shoot, an incident which prompted a formal report to a police station at the Lagos Island, name not mentioned, by DJ Bami and Darusha, an alleged threat to life, assault, and destruction of property. No formal arrest or prosecution was made at that time. Further testimonies presented before the court revealed that the deceased also had ongoing disputes with his former record label, Malian Music, Aziz Fashola, aka Naira IW12, and Samson Balogun Eletu, aka Sam Larry, IW15. Witnesses testified to the deceased growing tense sense of fear, mistrust, and public isolation. Subsequent testimonies from the deceased wives, IW4, Ajishebiri Sultan Ayobami, aka DJ Bami, IW2, and Ayobami Sodiq, aka Spending, IW5, confirmed the presence of ongoing emotional instability, paranoid, and verbal outbursts from the deceased, symptoms consistent with prolonged psychological trauma. It was further stated that on 10th of September 2023, after the show at Ikorodu, the deceased had a physical altercation with a friend and sustained a hand injury. Despite complaints of pain and bleeding sustained from the injury, no immediate hospital treatment was sought. On Tuesday, September 12, 2023, Mohbad died under sudden and suspicious circumstances following the administration of an injection by a nurse. His untimely death sparked widespread public outcry, leading to the investigation of legal and forensic experts, police investigators, and concerned civil organizations. Multiple petitions were received from legal representatives of the family, entertainment industry, and human rights advocates, prompting the initiation of this formal inquest. This coroner, on the 26th day of June 2024, gave an order for the postmortem review of the body samples of the deceased retained in the custody of the Chief Medical Examiner of the Lagos State Hospital in view of the application by the deceased father, IW1, and dated the 26th day of April 2024. This coroner, after due consideration, granted the alternative prayer of the applicant for leave to conduct its own independent postmortem examination on the body. Samples of the deceased, principally to ensure fair hearing, Section 26 of the Coroner System Law of 2015. On the 11th and 25th day of April 2025, the second autopsy report was laid in evidence by the expert forensic examiner Dr. Unwan Okereke Eze, who has been serving as the chief consultant forensic pathologist at University College Hospital, UCH Ibadan. He made his appearance particularly weighty. Based on the oral and documentary evidence presented during the inquest, this court will now deliver its verdict as to who the deceased was, when and where he died, and how he came by his death, pursuant to Section 14, 15, and 26 of the Coroner's System Law of Lagos State 2015. Identity of the deceased. Who? The deceased was Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Promise Aloba, a 36-year-old Nigerian male, professionally known as Mohbad. Date and place of death, in brackets, when and where. He died on Tuesday, 12th September 2023, in Lekki, Lagos State, and was brought to Pyramid Hospital, where he was declared dead on arrival. Manner of death. How? Prior to the death of the deceased, Mohbad had suffered a hand laceration caused by punching the window of a Prado SUV following an argument with his friend Prime Boy. 2 days later, on 12 September 2023, a nurse, Feishayo Ogidengbe, administered a cocktail of injections, tetanus toxoid, ceftriaxone, and paracetamol. Shortly after, the deceased vomited, began convulsing, and lost consciousness. Despite being rushed to hospital, he was declared dead. Cause of death. From the medical reports of the pathologist and the toxicologist, Professor Suyemi recorded the cause of death as unascertained. However, based on circumstantial and medical considerations, he suggested a possible anaphylactic reaction to an injected substance. Though this could not be confirmed, as specific biological markers like serum tryptase degrade quickly and could not be assessed 8 to 9 days postmortem. Dr. Nwan Okereke Eze acknowledged the discrepancy with the first autopsy, which had detected diphenhydramine and paracetamol, but attributed this to tissue degradation over time. He stressed the challenges of forensic pathology in tropical environments. IW14 considered the cause of death as anatomically undetermined. Both expert witnesses confirmed that the cause of death remains officially unascertained, with medical misadventure as the possible manner. Coroner's observation or opinion. Conduct of Nurse Ogedengbe. The coroner's court heard the testimony of Miss Ogedengbe Faisal, who was summoned by a witness summons. According to accounts, she observed swelling of Mohbad's right arm without conducting any formal diagnostic assessment. She proceeded to administer 3 injections in succession. Tetanus injection intramuscularly into the upper left arm, paracetamol for pain relief, ceftriaxone, a broad-spectrum antibiotic. During the testimony of the witness, it was confirmed and admitted by the nurse that she is not a certified registered nurse, nor a doctor or licensed pharmacist. She administered injections without conducting a medical diagnosis. She was unaware of key side effects of cetrazone and paracetamol, which were itemized in court as including vomiting, dizziness, diarrhea, rash, allergic reactions including anaphylaxis, and possible kidney damage. IW11 considered that she did not assess the full risk prior to treatment and that she should have asked questions about allergies before administering the injections. She further confirmed that she left the deceased to get hydrocortisone. The conduct of the nurse, Ms. Ogenengbe Feishaya's evidence placed her at the center of the final medical intervention and administered to the deceased. Conduct of the father. Mr. Joseph Aloba, the father of the deceased, gave lengthy testimony in court. It is clear from his evidence that while he had a formative role in the deceased's early life, his knowledge of the deceased's activities and well-being in later years was intermittent and inconsistent. From 2019, when the deceased moved in with the record label associate, the father admitted to having little contact with him. This gap in contact extended into critical periods in the deceased's life. Particularly during his mental health crisis and post-record label distress. Of utmost concern was Mr. Aloba's conduct in the immediate aftermath of his son's death. He orchestrated a hasty burial of the deceased on the same night of his death without the procurement of any medical certificate of death, coroner's authorization, or autopsy. He further admitted that he did not seek to verify who confirmed the deceased death, nor did he request any form of forensic investigation. The hospital reportedly refused to accept the corpse for lack of documentation, yet Mr. Aloba proceeded with the interment nonetheless. Evidence also showed that Davido contributed 2 million naira for the burial, with 1 million naira received directly by Mr. Aloba. Yet the burial was conducted without dignity, order, or consultation with key family members. The gravesite was described as remote and vulnerable, resulting in public outrage and suspicion. The father's actions, while perhaps guided by cultural belief in early burial, reflected an absence of procedural responsibility, especially given the suspicion and unnatural circumstances of death. The court finds that Mr. Aloba's conduct was precipitous and obstructive to forensic clarity, potentially frustrating early investigative opportunities. His subsequent public allegations and accusations made without substantiating evidence cast further doubt in his credibility and motives. In circumstances where death appears unnatural or sudden in a young adult with no terminal illness, a father more invested in truth would have prioritized autopsy and legal process before burial. Conduct of the mother. Mrs. Abosede Aloba, mother of the deceased, presented us a distraught and grieving parent. Presented as a distraught and grieving parent. Her testimony revealed a close emotional bond with her son and a clear awareness of his fears and challenges. She narrated that Mohbad often confided in her regarding threats to his life and instances of harassment, and even shared disturbing audio messages and visual evidence of physical injury. Despite this, she was not physically present at the time of her son's death and had no involvement in the burial proceedings. She expressed shock and heartbreak at the witness of her son's burial, lamenting that she was neither allowed to see the corpse properly nor informed of the medical details of his death. Her conduct was dignified and measured. However, her own awareness of the distress and threat faced by the deceased raises a question. Would more proactive steps have been taken to protect her son earlier, or to ensure his compliance were documented formally? Conduct of the wife. The deceased wife, Omomi, presented detailed and consistent evidence regarding the days leading up to the Mohbad's death. She was present during the incident at the Ikorodu show, witnessed his hand injury, and assisted in bringing in the nurse who ultimately administered the injection. She described Mohbad as a man under constant fear, living with trauma and emotional instability caused by persistent harassment and bullying from his former record label associates. However, while her account was clear and compelling, certain omissions in conduct warrant scrutiny. First, the deceased was treated at home by an uncertified auxiliary nurse, whose competence and training were later brought into question. As the closest person to the deceased and given his status as a public figure, the decision to seek home treatment, especially by someone whose credentials were unclear, appears negligent, even driven by fear or preference from the deceased. Secondly, Omoumi was a direct eyewitness to the medical emergency, but did not insist on calling emergency services or ensuring proper ambulance care when the deceased began vomiting and convulsing. Multiple household members panicked and the transport was chaotic. Most crucially, after the death of the deceased, Mrs. Aloba Omoumi was notably silent in preventing or challenging the hasty burial. Despite having lived with him as his wife and mother of his child, her outcry regarding harassment, abuse, and industry threats surfaced forcefully only after the burial and public outrage had commenced. This raises the question, why was her voice absent when it mattered most? Why was there no insistence on a death certificate or legal inquiry before burial? While she may have been overwhelmed, emotionally distressed, or pushed aside by the father, it was incumbent upon her as wife, next of kin, and the last person with the deceased to speak, object, or at the very least document the procedural irregularities at the point of death and burial. The wife, though credible and emotionally invested, bears a measure of moral and circumstantial responsibility for the silence surrounding the death and hasty burial. A more assertive protective response was expected given her position. Conduct of the deceased. The deceased was a 26-year-old musical artist. Mohbad's final days were emotionally turbulent. The altercation at the Ikorodu show, the hand injury, the visible agitation, and eventually medical treatment also show a man who was physically injured, mentally distressed, and tragically undeserved. His refusal to seek hospital treatment and decision to accept injections from an uncertified auxiliary nurse was reflections of both personal vulnerability and a glaring failure of support systems around him. The deceased was a vulnerable person failed by the music industry, medical caregivers, family dynamics, and public systems. His death underscores the necessity of timely mental health intervention and legal protection for young public figures facing threats. Evidence from family members and colleagues indicates that Mohbad lived under sustained psychological distress, reportedly due to persistent harassment, threats, and physical assaults from individuals, including Sam Larry, and persons connected to his former record label, while no direct link was found between these persons and his immediate death. Conclusion. Based on the totality of evidence, I am unable to certify a medical cause of death. However, the preponderance of the evidence supports that the death was sudden, occurring within minutes to hours after administration of injectable drugs by an unlicensed auxiliary nurse. There was no natural disease identified to explain the death. There was no evidence of homicide or deliberate foul play, but medical negligence is evident. The rapid burial without a proper investigation, medical certificate, or police involvement significantly obstructed justice, pursuant to Section 15, Subsection 1, Subsection C of the Coroner System Law of 2015. Recommendations. In accordance with Section 39 of the Coroner's Law of Lagos State, this court recommends the following: prosecution of unlicensed medical personnel, The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution (DPP) should commence appropriate criminal proceedings against Feishai Ogedengbe for unlawful medical practice, gross negligence. 2. Mental health and harassment redress. Given the overwhelming testimonies of persistent harassment, threats, and bullying, notably by Sam Larry and Naira Marley, the Nigerian Police Force and Human Rights Commission should investigate all prior reports of or petition by Mohbad regarding intimidation or assault, clarify why such complaints did not result in prosecutorial actions or protective relief, consider instituting laws or regulations safeguarding artists and public figures from organized bullying within the entertainment industry. Number 3, on family responsibility. Cultural beliefs must never override legal protocols. Where deaths appear suspicious or unnatural, deaths of young, healthy individuals must mandatorily be investigated before burial. Clear statutory guidelines should be established to determine who has the legal authority over a deceased body, particularly where the deceased lived independently with a spouse or partner. Number 4, on spousal duties. The spouse or next of kin must be educated on legal recourses, including rights to demand a postmortem, object to hasty burial, and report procedural violations to authority. Number 5, on emergency medical response. Auxiliary nurses without full certifications must not be permitted to administer intravenous or intramuscular injections, especially in life-threatening situations or to known allergic patients. Emergency care units and ambulatory services should be readily available and properly publicized. Number 6, on handling death of public figures. The Lagos State Ministry of Health, Ministry of Justice, and relevant agencies should develop a joint death response protocol for public figures to prevent premature burials, ensure autopsies, and manage public information responsibly. Number 7, review of death reporting procedures. The Lagos State government should implement public education and policy reforms to ensure no burial is allowed without a coroner's certificate, medical cause of death, and unlawful police clearance. Strict enforcement of penalties for unauthorized burial practices. Final remarks. During the course of this inquest, the coroner's court took note of numerous false, misleading, and malicious narratives propagated across various social media platforms regarding the circumstances of the deceased death and the nature of the ongoing proceedings. Some individuals and influencers, some individuals and influencers without attendance at court or access to verified facts engaged in spreading distorted and fabricated claims about evidence that was never tendered before this court, declaring presumptive judgments on the guilt or innocence of private individuals, including witnesses and family members, thereby endangering the public peace and due process. This conduct misled the public, intimidated witnesses, and abused the court's self-consideration. The cautious and restrained silence of the coroner during an ongoing fact-finding process is out of respect for legal procedures and the rights of all parties. The court observed an alarming trend of online commentators and bloggers setting up private panels, soliciting public opinions, and making unfounded allegations against persons not proven guilty under law. Such conduct amounts to trial by media, disrespect to the legal process, unlawful interference in the statutory inquest under sections 14 to 32 of the Coroner System Law of Lagos State. This court will not be used as a spectacle or entertainment forum. Inquests are solemn, statutory exercises of public responsibility, not tools for clout chasing or narrative manipulation. The court issues the following formal warning and advisory to social media influencers, content creators, and the general public. Freedom of expression is not a license for defamation or obstruction of justice. Persons who misrepresent court proceedings may face consequences under the Cybercrimes Prohibitions Preventions etc. Act 2015 and relevant defamation statutes. Social media platforms must exercise responsibility in verifying content posted under trending legal topics. Unchecked circulation of falsehood risks incitement and may attract regulatory sanctions. Individuals who spread misinformation about active judicial proceedings may be held liable for contempt, interference with judicial authority, or incitement under Nigerian law. The public is urged to await formal findings, verdicts, and publications by recognized judicial authorities and to resist the temptation of engaging in sensationalism or hearsay justice. The court acknowledges the public interest in the death of the deceased and demands and commends those who expressed their concern lawfully. However, public vigilance must be balanced with respect for truth, restraint, and the presumption of innocence. Let it be recorded that the integrity of this inquest was preserved, not by public opinion. This cannot be crowdsourced. It must be earned, proven, and delivered by process, not popularity. The death of Iliri Oluola, the Major Aloba, aka Mohbad, is a tragic loss of a promising young life. While this inquest may not fully satisfy every question raised by the public, it has provided clarity on the immediate circumstances surrounding his death, exposed systemic lapses in medical practice and institutional oversight, negligence, youth exorbitance, negligence in parental care, and as identified areas where reform is urgently required. It is the hope of this coroner's court that the findings herein shall not only serve the interest of justice but also inspire structural improvements in public health, legal accountability, and protection of vulnerable citizens in the entertainment industry. Appreciation. I must commend all councils who participated in this long and difficult journey. The Council of the State, Public Lawyer Neon, the Council for the State, Council for the Respondents, Council for the Father and the Family, Council for the Wife and Child, Council for Parents Hospital, and all the interested members of the public diligently following the proceedings. I want to also appreciate the fans of the late singer, late Iliri Oluwa Aloba, local and international, for seeking the truth. I hope with this knowledge comes peace and the deceased will be given a proper and befitting burial. May the deceased Iliri Oluwa Oladimiji Alodba soul rest in peace. I say thank you to everyone. Dated this 11th day of July 2025. Signed by the Magistrate Coroner Shotobi. Do I need to read the appendices? Okay. Okay. Appendices. The following appendices support the findings, testimonies, and conclusions written in this report. They contain referenced materials, legal instruments, and legal documentation reviewed during the inquest. ASP Mohammed Yusuf, State CID Homicide Section, ASP Oderinde Gafar, Joseph Aloba, father of the deceased, Ajishebiri Sultan Ayobami, DJ, Mrs. Abosede Aloba, mother of the deceased, Cynthia Mohomi Aloba, wife of the deceased, Aloba Adragbemi, brother of the deceased, Dr. Richard Somari, forensic examiner, Ayobami Sodiq Spending, Ibrahim Domo Owoduni, Prime Boy, Professor Sunday S. Shuyemi, pathologist, Boluwatife Adeyemi, Darusha Feisha Ogedengbe, auxiliary nurse, Aziz Fashola Eke Naramali, Olusonya Falade, deceased lawyer, Dr. Won Okerekeze, Samson Eletu, Sam Larry. Do you have any other thing? Fidelis Esampon, hired lawyer, hired driver, Dr. Uola Chigoze, Perez Hospital, who is this? Perez Hospital, doctor, petitions and legal representation. Petitioners included Fumi Falana San, Festus Ogun, and Chief Yomi Aliyu San. Appearances were made on behalf of the deceased father and the deceased family members, including his wife. The state was represented by the Director of Public Prosecution, GPP, Entertainment Community, African Women Lawyers, Nigerian Bar Association, Ikorodu branch. Respondents were also duly represented. Appendix B, exhibits and documents reviewed. What do we have? Coroners of coroner authorization for autopsy, police preliminary investigation report, reference but not admitted, pathology report from Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, toxicology report from Lagos DNA and Forensic Center, toxicology report, second opinion, University of Ibadan Teaching Hospital, travel records of Aziz Fashila and Samson Balogun, witnesses written depositions, and social media exhibits reference but not officially admitted, Appendix C, legal references, Lagos State Coroner System Law 2015. These are just the appendixes they used and also the evidences. So it's all there, and it stopped in page. Okay, there's also this page for appearances. Dr. Wahab Shitu San or Salusi Oluyemi Victor Adegboye Adegbemi Ayokunmi MK Orire Esquire for the father and the family. Okay, MK Orire Esquire of the deceased, Kabir Akingbolu, Abiodun Kolawole Esquire. These were all the appearances. So it was dated and signed by the Honorable Coroner, the Magistrate Shotobi Taufika Tadidai, signed on the 11th day of July 2025, and it ended in page 81. Thank you for listening. But Buru, don't tell me you slept off. Oh. Sister Cindy, are you there? Everybody, Olivia, right? Oh yeah, can we have people to comment? Sister Cindy, I'm gonna start me. Oh, great! We entered 1 million likes. That's good. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for that. That's great motivation. Inshallah, tomorrow, um, we still have the CTCs of Darosha, the real this thing. You know, this one is like the first.
There will be few minutes. I can contribute just a little, just few minutes.
Okay, no problem. So we still have them available, but we only decided to read the final verdict. That's the last inquest they did. So this is the CTC we just read. Um, I don't know. Well, was there anything new? Mayor 25, you can come up now. Sister Cindy, I think people want to come up. Is there any moderator or are people requesting? Okay, Elizabeth is coming up.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah. Good evening. Please continue. I want to take water. I mean,
Uh-huh. Well done, Lagbaja. You did very well. Thank you very much. To be honest, there's really not much to say. It just shows that these guys that have been going to the inquest, they've just been dishing out false information and all that. Although I believe what you read is just like a summary of the most important facts from the case. Because I believe what's her name? The magistrate, she didn't care about the what's it called? Beer parlor gossip, the beer parlor talk. She was only interested in the main facts of the case, and that's what we got. So I don't know, there's really nothing much to say. I just noticed few points. They kept on shouting that, The driver said he was called in the morning that Mohbad was dead. With what you read now, he said you read that the driver said he was called in the morning that report yourself. That's it. Then in the afternoon, just as the whole public heard, he was told that Mohbad died on Tuesday. So that makes sense, to be honest. But all them, what's he called? What's that lady called? Monjoluwa, or what's her name? They all went to the inquest and came out to say the driver said he died in the morning, or he heard he died in the morning, which is not right. What else did I notice? I noticed that the magistrate said Wumi is credible and Joseph Aloba is not credible. No wonder she received so much curses from Josie team. Lagbaja, are you there?
Yeah, sure, I'm here.
Did you get that part?
I saw it. Yeah, I saw what you said. She
Like,
commended her, and I think the boost that Wume collected was like, Omo, don't you know you're the next of kin? That day you should have like,
exactly. She said,
you shouldn't have allowed this man go to bury. You should have even documented. You should have
yeah,
shouted. You shouldn't have. It shouldn't be out after the burial. You should have come out. It should have been that day. Come.
exactly.
That's what she was even latched.
And she said, with what Josie said, I don't want to say she has been saying the rubbish she's doing online, because I believe she's just about what's been said in her court. Well, she said, with his testimony, he is not credible. As in, that part threw me off. Like, if the magistrates can notice that this man is not credible, so don't you think the police would obviously see the rubbish he's doing? The government can see that this man is just chatting shit and is just looking for how to put someone else in prison who shouldn't be. Do you understand? We've always said it, that the police, the government, they can see through this guy. Like, is so obvious to see. Because how can you be saying, you are saying you saw pool of blood? There's no sensible human being that will see pool of blood and the first thing he will think of doing is to carry the boy for burial. And as Darusha and everybody else that testified said, he wanted to bury him that night. That's what the magistrate concluded. He wanted to bury that boy that night. But of course, some things happened. He couldn't bury him that night. So he did it the next day. And Elagbaja, did you notice that when the magistrate was rounding up, she didn't say Darusha buried him? Lagbaja.
Please repeat what you said.
I said, did you notice that when the magistrates wanted to...
Yes, Lily.
Yeah, wanted to...
Because during his cross-examination, they put it to him that they asked him, and he said it was he was the one that solely said they should bury him that day.
But when he goes online, he will say, oh, he was there. I left everything to Darusha. It's Darusha that buried him. No, you gave the order. And that means you buried him. And that's what the magistrate said.
Did you listen to where they said, okay, 2 million was given, and you guys couldn't give him his befitting?
It's just sad. It's really sad, everything that guy went through. And with what I heard you read now, there was no part that says, oh, the case of the death should be reinvestigated. What she said was the case of the bullying, the petition must be reinvestigated. But when you have someone, a delusional guy like Yomi, saying, oh, the magistrate has helped them with the case, that she said the death case must... No, that case is done and dusted. As a matter of fact, she said, you all are just especially the ones that don't even come to court but sit online, do their own coroner inquest online, you are obstructing, no, not even obstructing justice. I think she said contempt of court, blah, 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 blah. And it's a criminal, what's it called? Like, is against the cybercrime law. Everything you guys are doing. So with all these things, Wumi, she's been empowered. If she really wants to take up a case with all these guys, she can. She can, because the magistrates even said it, that there are just too many lies. You guys are just lying. There's really not much to say. There's another part that the the parents' doctor said he was brought in dead or almost dead. Lagbaja, did you see that part? Can you
Yeah,
recall?
I saw that part.
If he is saying that brought in dead or almost dead, so why is he also saying, or why are these people, these so-called people that went to the inquest, why are they coming out to say the man said he had died almost 24 hours, something like that? Is
The
it
thing
not
here,
contradictory?
it's just that I would actually also blame myself for not even being part of this corona stuff, because
For
there's
not
this part
what? I didn't hear that.
there's this part I heard this night that said Darusha said they they gave him oxygen and conducted CPR at Perez,
Mm-hmm.
and this same doctor said he had died 2 hours ago or 3 hours ago. Why would you put oxygen on someone you said is already showing signs of um rigor mortis? Is it possible?
As in, a lot is going on there. Like, I can't really understand what's going on.
Yeah, it's when I read that part, I was just like, what did they happen for here? The director said they took him to Perez. The
And
doctor also said
it's not
he
just
said they gave him the first.
Darusha.
And now even the
I
doctor
think the
confirmed it,
doctor
that
himself said it, yeah.
yeah, that they did the normal protocol to at least, and I was just like, and you're claiming that, oh, this dead, but this body, oh, he could not die about 3 hours ago. Why should you? And in he was trying to like, oh, he wasn't brought into this thing. Immediately they saw him, they're like, oh, this guy is dead, is dead. But the thing here is this: why did you try to do CPR on a body you saw the pupils are dilated, already experiencing rigor mortis? Why would you conduct CPR on such body? That place looks somehow.
But the most important thing is, he said,
It maybe he felt small pulse. That's why they tried to revive him. But I don't know why he now said
Exactly, Mayor 25. Exactly. Who gives you
he had died
body? You
earlier,
don't do CPR
two
on the
hours earlier.
body
I don't know.
that is already stiffened up. You don't do rigor. You don't even give oxygen to it.
but do you have his own CTC? Because now these are the magistrate's words. These
Which
are
is
not his own words. Do you
yeah,
have his own? His own,
these
yeah.
ones are this is just the final cities, the
Yeah.
final.
So yeah,
So
if
that's
we
why I
have
said
his
it's going
own,
to be
then
a
we
long
can,
weekend. It's going to be a long weekend. Tomorrow we continue with it.
with his own, we
Tomorrow,
can know exactly what he said, because what we read is the magistrate's summary, basically. Yeah. But the good thing is, he was asked, and that's the last doctor that saw him alive. I mean, sorry, the last doctor that saw him before burial. He was asked if he had any injuries, if he had any blunt trauma, any. He said no. So, Yomi, I really need to understand. I mean, you need to explain all this rubbish you are saying. I don't even know why I keep referring to Yomi. Yomi is a lunatic. So, and now these people always wonder why the police is not listening to them or the government is not listening to them. Because they know everything you are doing is rubbish. If you have professionals that they've been in this look at even even the so-called Unwomikem, or what's his name? That's Josie's pathologist. He said he has done this pathology, this forensic pathology for maybe how many years? Is it 20 years? And he has done thousands of cases or hundreds of cases. I can't remember. You have that, someone like that, and the one from the government, people that are trained, like they've been doing this thing for years. You have them on this case. You have lawyers, they are so-called SAN. You have people that are trained, that actually, studied, went to school for this. But you fools online, you sit down, analyze nonsense, analyze rubbish, and you think the government will listen to you. They play.
You should also notice where they specifically asked the doctor about Perez, like, did you notice any injuries on the body,
Yeah,
any
that's
stuff
what I
like that?
just said.
Yeah,
And he said
same
no,
thing as
there's nothing like
same thing as the
that.
pathologist. Yeah, pathologist from UCH also confirmed, like,
Exactly, because
he actually did something to the skull to check if there was any skull fracture. He said nothing like that. Was there any stuff to the spinal cord, maybe a fracture there? He said nothing like that. Was there any other wound on the body? Nothing like that. So was there any poisons in his system? Nothing like that. Was he on high narcotics? Nothing like that. So no
and
wonder
you
these guys,
hear
after the second autopsy, they were just like, whether the man did not even do anything, whether Kirika, where did it? How are you looking for something?
I still heard that late Amy say today that they didn't talk about the head at the inquest. They never talked about the head. Like, I don't understand these people and their
Never
delusion.
talked about it, but now we're saying it there that the second
Government
autopsy,
autopsy and
the
the
government autopsy said it, even their
private,
own
yeah,
autopsy said it. They
exactly.
all said it there, like they were checking the head. They also checked the neck.
The
Did
neck,
you
yeah.
see? Yeah, that nothing. It was intact. It was just bent, due to how they placed him inside the coffin and that.
See, we're going to keep saying this over and over.
Yeah, this is something that we've been saying for 2 years.
I'm
We
telling
just,
you.
but it's just nice. We now checking the summary of the magistrate to see, is she saying what we have been thinking, or we have been saying all these days. It's just a confirmation, like, yeah, yeah. And
And
this
she
person,
really gave this man, this
she was
Joseph
speaking to
Alova.
19 people. And if
Yeah.
she had, and okay, now, look at the questions asked to Naira Marley and Sam Larry. Sam Larry was just denying everything. But this woman in her conclusion said, of course, there was a bully, there was an harassment, that they should go and pick up the case up. So she saw the lie from him, like, oh, guy, you the lie, guy.
No,
How would
no,
you say
no.
those
You know
questions were
what?
not
You know what? You know what? I don't even want to put any relevance to Sam Larry. It's Naira Marley. You have this fool, this daft manipulator coming out to ask Nigerians if you can show me or tell me wherever Naira Marley assaulted or bullied Mohbad, I'll give you 20 million. But look at this magistrate. She, in her final speech or whatever, it was Naira Marley she mentioned. Lagwaja, did you notice that? She said the bullying from Naira Marley. I don't even think she mentioned Sam Larry. I don't know if you can remember that part.
she was saying much of Naira Marley, but she also
Yes.
mentioned Sam Larry. Yeah.
You see, it's not really, sometimes the main person doesn't even have to be always at the crime scene, or do you get what I'm saying? All he needs to do is give orders, and a proper investigator will know, or a proper whoever is questioning or interrogating will know that you don't even have to be present to be the main person. The magistrate, she could see through everything that was going on, that he is the main person. Even though he tried to deny that, oh, he's not affiliated to Sam Larry in any way, but it was just too obvious. It was just too obvious. It's just sad, to be honest. It's really sad. If they really want to take up this
I
case,
seriously don't even know why they are denying that chandelier stuff. There are about 2 or 3 videos. No, I've seen about 4 videos about that chandelier incident. Mobad was talking like, oh, and Naramali no one bell. There was another one that they broke bottle on his head, and there was one they were rushing back to the car like, see Mobad, there was Mobad, pushing no Mobad, Nara there one bell. Like it's evidence there.
what
Actual
about the
evidence.
video he sent to Ibaji? He mentioned his name now. This is what Naira did to me. He didn't say this is what Naira's boys did to me. He said this is what Naira did to
Are you
me.
saying that it's manipulated? Okay. The video in which they were at the beach that Mobad was locked inside the car, there were bruises all over his body. Are you saying that was AI?
That one he said
Imagine, and
some lying.
that's the same thing VDM is saying now that they were all doctored videos. I'm like,
Yeah.
doctored?
It's just a sad one, really sad to be honest. I just pray they can actually investigate this bullying case, bullying and assault.
The thing here is
Because
that we are just saying we hope, we hope. Is there anybody even picking it up? The family is not picking it up. All what they are concerned now is like, oh, let us talk about the DNA and let's see who is going to inherit his royalties. That's what they're all thinking about now. Trying to take Liam out of the picture. That's just the whole thing that they're doing now. That's the whole energy now. Have they even started any? Have they submitted any criminal case concerning this? Have they talked about the petition Mobad dropped? They are not.
it's very
They're
hard.
not doing anything. The only thing now they are concerned about is the verdict of September 9th, what the court is going to tell them to go and do about the DNA, and that is all. And what's the DNA for? Okay, you guys have been shouting. If the DNA comes out negative, what's going to happen? Is it going to change what happened at the coroner inquest? No. Whatever comes out of that DNA stuff, any DNA examination, is not going to affect what happened at the coroner inquest because there was a nurse. There was a nurse. And this guy died out of medical negligence, not out of any physical attack or anything.
Did you see the
It's
part
just a
that
shame that you guys recruited a son for millions of naira and you're not pursuing the most important thing that there is evidence on social media on. You're pursuing using a son in a coroner inquest.
but the thing is, seriously don't know what these Malians are thinking. Like bringing up a case against what's her name, Yabo. Reading this judgment now, verdict or whatever it's called, that's a very good defense for her. Do you know? Because they are trying
What
to
did you say?
gaslight her. I'm talking about the Malians that are trying to like have a case with Yabo. So they are trying to gaslight her to making it seem she was the one that brought up this bullying and assault allegation against them. But that like they never did anything like
But
that.
they never really knew that the internet does not forget that the first person to even talk about the cancellation of the Malian records was actually VDM himself. Okay, yeah, she was very emotional when she was talking, but she never talked about you guys canceling
No, I'm not even
or
talking
arresting
about
them.
VDM. I'm saying if Iyabo actually, she kept on saying that if you want to do a case, let's go to court. I'm saying this verdict from the magistrates is a good defense for her because
Yeah,
they are trying to make it seem like, oh, she was wrong all along, there was no assault and bullying. If she, as a normal as a human being, can see this, then now this is a legal entity, this is a magistrate of the court also saying this actually happened and shouldn't just be swept under the carpet. You get what I
I mean,
mean?
people that even come for me. Yeah, I get you. But people that always come on social media, maybe on my comment section, or just like, hey, Kinika, Kinika, is it the bullying that is it the bullying that fight? Is it the bullying that fight? Let's talk about it. Okay, the Corona inquest has done its best. They've actually told us the person to be prosecuted. Now going to the second case, which has to do with the bullying. Do you have any evidence to show me that Mohbad was never beaten? Just show me one evidence that Mohbad was lying in any of those videos, or those things that we saw were actually make up. Just show me one evidence that what we saw were make up. The what's the name of that machine put on his body for to check his IBP? That was not really a machine. That was AI. Just or tell me that everything he was writing in his Twitter accounts were all fabricated. All those interviews he went to CTFM, all those interviews, na lie. That was not Mohbad. Maybe that was a drag. Just tell me that those doctors, those videos, the interviews that he went for, that he was saying that oh he had been ignored, he had been done this, he had issues with them, clinical, clinical. All those things were AI generated. Internet never forgets, so nobody can actually tell me Mohbad was not bullied. It's very impossible. You can't just say that Mohbad was not bullied. Very, very impossible.
Very sad. Very sad.
Enya Buru, do you have any recording for us? Let me go and prepare for tomorrow because we'll be having a
Me
field
too. I
day
need to
tomorrow.
go self. What time are you doing your thing tomorrow?
I don't know yet. I have to talk to Fatima again. Very soon.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Good night.
Yeah, good night, lady. Enya Buru. Enya Buru. Enya Buru. You don't sleep, bro. And I don't want to be shouting here also. What's happening on social media? Is any one of them out? Maybe I could just stream them and go to bed. Sembel. None of them is out. Enya Buru, do you have any recording for us? Sister Dupsy. Ẹ bá fíìmù nìkan lẹ́yìn bíbá yìí náà fẹ́ sùn. I think Star Timmy is good. And I really don't have any recording to play. Comment section, do you have anything that you want me to play? Max the Fresh, are you there? Okay, Max the Fresh. Comments now so that I'll know I can leave you. Max the Fresh. Okay, just preparing something. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Tomorrow, don't forget, once you see us coming up, you should know, like, we want to start the record, the reading. But anything from maybe 12 hours from now, we might start doing one or two things. We have to consider people in US so that it would merge with UK time that people would actually be available. We don't want to do things when people in Canada are actually sleeping. Okay, so Max Fresh is coming. Thank you very much for holding up, and to the gifters, thanks a lot. Good night, everybody. Have a good night. Good night. Good night. I know that there are some of those critical foods whose